So, just before lunch, we briefly discussed the first point for making any procurement is identification of need. Then, what are the types of need? So, one is the projected need, projected regular and planned procurement, which in the morning we said that about 90% of the procurement, or maybe little more than that, is already established at the time of design stage. Okay, so this is known to us. There are some interim procurement which arise while you are executing the project. Sometimes few things you did not foresee, or requirement of some of the items increased. Because of that, you need the interim requirements for a certain period of time. And third category is one of emergent procurement. So that could be some flood has taken place, some drought has been there, or something like that. So these are the three different types of need which we have in any project. Okay. Then there is a need and want. What is the difference between need and want?
So, need is which is very essential to sustain that person. You can do sustainability के लिए. और want है उससे extra कुछ हमें चाहिए. That is want.
तो मतलब
जरूरी नहीं है. That is want.
Right. आपको तो आसमान चाहिए, लेकिन आसमान को लेने के लिए पैसा है कि नहीं है? Wants are unlimited. Your wants are unlimited. So you have to restrict your need based on what you want to achieve. Okay. एग्जाम्पल है कि जब हिली एरिया में जो भी होंगे, मेरे ख्याल से देहरादून में जो भी होंगे, वो कहेंगे हमें 4-wheel ड्राइव दे दीजिए. लेकिन अगर देहरादून में ही चलाना है तो it may not be necessary. But if you have to go to the field, maybe it is necessary. Basic requirement. So basic requirement also will vary based on what you want to do. Okay. So you have to see what is actually required and what is optional or addition to your requirement. And are there dimensions of social status also involved? जैसे सब कोई कहे कि मुझे बड़ी SUV चाहिए या कुछ, whether it is needed or not, that the project has to decide whether it is really needed. Example यहाँ पे लिखा है, अभी हम लोगों ने डिस्कस कर लिया कि 4x4 ड्राइव चाहिए, लेकिन it may not be necessary. Okay. Then what you have to see is when you identify a demand could be like your demand is to bring, let us say in some of the project, you have a responsibility to bring your staff from their home to office. Suppose that is the requirement. Okay. So what is the need? Need is to transport your staff from their home to office. How you can fulfill that requirement? You have to see all the alternatives. What could be alternatives? ऑफिस से घर लाना है तो क्या अल्टरनेटिव हो सकते हैं? लोकल बस हो सकती है, आप उसको ट्रांसपोर्ट अलाउंस भी दे सकते हैं, और आप ऑफिस व्हीकल्स भी, कंबाइंड ऑफिस व्हीकल्स भी दे सकते हैं. So all those options you have to consider and then come up with a solution. What is the best for your project? Okay. Then identify the drivers. 3 drivers होते हैं आपके. तो whenever you make a procurement, time आपको कितनी जल्दी कोई चीज चाहिए, cost whether you want to have at minimum cost or and quality. ये तीनों drivers mutually exclusive हैं. एक को आप कम करेंगे, दूसरा बढ़ जाएगा. Okay. If you want better quality, the price will also go up. If you want less time, the price will go up. Okay. So you have to really decide. You can see this triangle: time, cost, and quality. So you decide which is your driver. Okay. We will come on next slide. If it is a safety equipment or very highly skilled consultancy, then which is the most important driver? Quality, no doubt about it. And once quality is your most important driver, then you have to get the specifications right. In case of consultancy, the terms of reference has to be made very properly so that you get the best service available. Okay. So in such cases, QBS method we have to use, quality based selection for services. And
QBS impact projects में we don't recommend QBS because QBS में there is no financial proposal limit. If the proposal qualified for quality, whatever the financial proposal they put in, you need to agree to that. So that's why in a rural development project, particularly with the cost defined project mode, we don't recommend adopting QBS as a selection method. It is valid for, say, suppose if you have a Terry Dam, another dam you need to construct. For that, you need a seismological study, all other environmental study. Those are all very crucial for the downstream your activity and downstream procurement. So any amount you spend on the seismological, that's a good value for money and your investment is guaranteed. But in a rural development project, there is no such downstream effort. But if you are not saying QBS, it doesn't mean that for all other procurement we don't consider quality. But there you have a compromise like what Dr. Garg has said. You have to make compromise either for a time, either for a cost, along with the quality, you need to have a compromise.
so in your projects, the quality may not be so critical that you go for QBS. But if you happen to go for QBS, negotiation on price is permitted in QBS. Whatever proposal is given by the consultant, you can negotiate on price because the price is not competitively received. Okay, but as Mr. Shriram said, we don't have in any of the event projects in India, we may not have any QBS. Okay. There could be some exceptions to be there. In any case, where you can go for single source, you can always go for QBS also. But normally you have been justifying single source based on availability of only one vendor for that particular thing. But QBS is normally held, QBS system is followed when the quality is of paramount importance. Okay, so you want to pay anything for quality, but it does not mean that you cannot negotiate. You can negotiate and bring down the prices, but he may not agree to bring down the prices. That is the issue.
Yes. तो सर इसमें एक्चुअली क्या है, जैसे हम गवर्नमेंट प्रोक्योरमेंट करते हैं, एक तो प्रोप्राइटरी आइटम हुआ जो आप करें, दूसरा ये हुआ कि हमारे पास जैसे इंस्टीट्यूशन है, हमारे पास पन्नगर यूनिवर्सिटी, हमने कहा पन्नगर यूनिवर्सिटी से ही ट्रेनिंग करवाई, तो क्या वो सिंगल सोर्स नहीं होगा?
हाँ, सिंगल सोर्स होगा।
तो वो ले सकते हैं नहीं ले सकते?
हाँ, ले सकते हैं, but it will be prior review. You have to justify why you want to go to that university only. What are the advantages? So, some advantage could be that there is no other university which is providing you such training in nearby this thing. If you send somebody outside, that will not be cost effective, or some such reason you will have to provide. If there is no reason, then it will not be agreed as single source. Even if it is a government department.
It's a pioneering institute, Panagar University, that itself is a justification
Yes,
for
yes, that's a
having
some
पन्नगर यूनिवर्सिटी वाला हॉर्टिकल्चर का है, भरसार भी हॉर्टिकल्चर का है ना, यहाँ पे कई और रानी चोरी भी है, तो how can we select?
No, yes, if you cannot provide enough justification, then please go for company.
फिर हमें तीनों को भेजना पड़ेगा, then वो भेजेंगे अपने
Right. If it is, let us say, less than $30,000 or $35,000, whatever you threshold, you can do that way.
नहीं, अब तो हम डायरेक्ट कर लेते थे कि गवर्नमेंट का इंस्टीट्यूशन है, हमने कहा आया हम काशीपुर में भेज देते हैं, हम भी सेंड
नहीं, आपको कर लीजिए CQS is the best way of doing it.
नहीं, जैसे आया हम काशीपुर में हमने ट्रेनिंग के लिए भेज दिया, जैसे जो वो
CQS is
Resource का approval है,
consultant selection based on quality. तो वो
नहीं, UPR में था, UPR में एक्सक्लूड करा था, UPR है
UPR में अभी तो नहीं है।
हाँ, अभी ILSP का
हम कैसे देंगे?
वही हम कह रहे हैं, if you are able to justify कि इसी को देने में हमें फायदा है, तो हम लोग we will agree You will also agree yourself.
प्रायर रिव्यू भी ले जाएगा फिर उसका
Prior review तो जाएगा ही।
review जाएगा
Single source है तो prior review तो जाएगा ही।
तो है ही, वो क्वेश्चन नहीं है, बट वो जो बात हम गवर्नमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को दे सकते
क्या?
हैं, प्रोवाइडेड वी हैव अ जस्टिफिकेशन कि
Yes.
इसका ट्रेनिंग मॉड्यूल
If
अच्छा है।
you don't have justification, तो CQS कर लीजिए।
क्या जैसे भी बात
सीक्वेंस क्या है तो वही हम जाना चाहते हैं।
CQS में क्या होता है कि you issue EOI, expression of interest, request for expression of interest. You receive EOIs, then you evaluate them. You give them ranking. जो highest rank होगा, shortlisting की तरह से ही है, but highest rank जो होगा, उससे आप proposal मांगिए बस, one proposal only.
हाँ तो ये भी कर सकते हैं, ठीक है, अच्छा है। तो ये सब पॉइंट ना दैट हॉर्टिकल्चर में अगर बहुत सारे इंस्टीट्यूट्स ट्रेनिंग दे रहे हैं, वी शुड गो फॉर दैट सीक्वेंस।
Yes, yes.
दैट्स गुड आइडिया।
Wherever you are not able to justify, then
उसमें
you
कहीं
have to.
ऐसा नहीं है कि किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ हम एमओयू कर करके काम कर सकते हैं। जैसे
MOU
मतलब पंथनगर यूनिवर्सिटी आ जाती है, हमने
Yeah.
एग्रीकल्चर फील्ड का
MOU भी आप करेंगे।
जोशी जी
MOU justify
MOU
करेंगे
is
ना।
the final product.
सर,
Either it is a contract or a
किसी
memorandum of
एक
agreement.
एक सब्जेक्ट
See, memorandum of understanding
एक्सपर्टीज है
is
राउंड ऑफ
not
जस्टिफिकेशन की इसका
with
एक्सपर्टीज वो
financial.
यूनिवर्सिटी बीइंग द पायनियर
ये memorandum of understanding
इजीली जस्टिफाई कि ये ट्रेनिंग हम वहां से क्यों करा रहे हैं, भले ही वो दूर है सर।
Yes.
मेरा तो ये मानना है, इस पे अब आपका क्या ओपिनियन
हाँ।
है?
सर आइडियली अगर हम एक्चुअली इशू ट्रेनिंग के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से आएगा, अगर हम देखें तो जितने भी गवर्नमेंट के ICAR के भी जितने भी इंस्टीट्यूट्स हैं, उनका मैंडेट होता तो यही है कि दे हैव टू एक्चुअली डू नॉलेज डिसेमिनेशन। नाउ द इशू इज दैट इफ वी आस्क ऑल दीस इंस्टीट्यूट्स की गिव योर हम यूआई फ्लोट कर रहे हैं, आप प्रपोजल्स दीजिए, वो लोग इतना इंटरेस्टेड नहीं होते। वो ये कहते हैं कि आपको ट्रेनिंग करानी है, दिस इज अ मॉड्यूल, आपका हम इतना लॉजिंग लगेगा, बोटिंग लगेगा, इतने पार्टिसिपेंट्स का पे इज दिस अमाउंट एंड दैट्स इट। सो अब उसमें हम प्रोसेस फॉलो करना हमारे लिए डिफिकल्ट है सर, दैट वे।
या
ठीक है, तो अब वो आप उसको सिंगल सोर्स मान रहे हैं, बट हम ये कर सकते हैं कि वी कैन हैव देयर ब्रेकअप की TADA जो भी वो लोग हमसे चार्ज कर रहे हैं, वी कैन सेंड इट टू यू कि दिस इज व्हाट दे आर डिमांडिंग, हमें ये ठीक लग रहा है का ट्रेनिंग मॉड्यूल,
हाँ।
प्लीज गिव अस अप्रूवल।
See, normally आप
सिंगल
training
सोर्स
के-
हमारे लिए वो सिंगल सोर्स नहीं है सर, बिकॉज़ दे आर गवर्नमेंट इंस्टीट्यूट्स,
see the
दे
training.
आर नॉट सिंगल सोर्स फॉर
See
अस।
the one way. See,
मैडम
one way what you could do is like the training. The training is being done imparted by many, even the government institutions as well as government of India institutions, also other state government institutions, agriculture. See, if you decide on certain training, say maybe on horticulture, right? Horticulture, that's what Dr. Garg said. Either you go for with a justification, go with the ICR.
हां ओके
With a justification, go with the ICR. Or send an EOI to ICR Institute to respond. Not by advertising. You can also source.
ओके
You can also document it. You will document it that we have sent this
In an
document
email,
to ICR Institute, Pantnagar, IIM Ahmedabad, or maybe some other one. If 2 of them or 3 of them respond, then you evaluate, say, what is this one. Then you select one that is under CQS method. You ask that institute to give you technical, the session plan, what is the cost and everything. Sign a contract with them and go ahead. If you don't want to do it, if you want to go a single source, identify which match your requirement. Provide a justification why you want to go a single source. There is no other institute available, or maybe a different justification. It is within your state, the cost is less, or the cost is regulated, government institute, whatever the justification. Then IFAD will review that justification and accordingly provide you the source. Single source means then IFAD prior review is required. CQS you can adopt up to whatever the limit, the threshold limit within
Prior
that.
review will not be needed.
Prior
Up to 30,000 most probably it is 30,000.
CQS भी अगर follow करें sir, so rather than having a proper advertisement of an EOI and asking them to apply, that is a difficult call.
You
So
can
you say
send
we
a-
can just drop them and mail.
So as he said,
हाँ.
see in CQS it is not mandatory to advertise.
हाँ, perfect.
So you can ask 3, 4, 5.
But
consultants.
document it that you have sent it to 4 or 5
Absolutely.
this one.
So that can show that okay, we can have the
At the
add-on
time of
accommodation.
post review, say we will see whether you have sent it to 4 or
Oh.
send it only to 1 and get the source.
Correct.
Because sometimes I am not saying about your project, REAP. There are other projects, they will say we have sent it, but there are nothing to prove that they have sent it to other.
No, we can send it. We can always have a follow up that even if you're not interested, just write the mail that you're not interested.
Yes, yes.
That you're not sending us any reply.
If you put it, say, you get it, say, you send it to 5, because the training, there are many opportunities are available. But those training, because if it is a one-off training, then you can't demand a structured training only for you, because there is your batch, the number of participants and the batch will not be sufficient to design a separate training course for you. But if you feel there is a training required, continuously required for, say, maybe during the duration of the project, if you need a dedicated training module to be developed, that also you can have a training institute, say for REAP, this is the training module. So whenever you have a sufficient number of batches, you can send it to them. Like World Bank, this one, procurement. They have a Government of India institute there in Faridabad. National Institute of Financial Management and the Policy.
And
So
I have an SK also, both. SK also.
All World Bank procurement, they send the World Bank project, they send it because the faculty and they are very well versed on the World Bank procurement. They conduct a course, the duration, very in-depth course, 15 days, 20 days of procurement. So all World Bank projects send it to them. Likewise, Manage in Hyderabad, they have the agricultural development. If you want them to develop a course for you, they can also develop, or they can tailor-made a course for you. There is an Administrative Staff College of India in Hyderabad. They also take them to.
So we can.
But if the session plan and the schedule and the design is already identified and being run, identify 2 or 3 institutes which one is cost effective for you. You can't take one institution which is in Gujarat, so the travel cost will be high for your participants. So that way you can have a judgment call on that.
ये जो वर्ल्ड बैंक का FTPFMS का प्रोजेक्ट चल रहा है,
हाँ, वही उसी-
हमारे वहाँ जो ट्रेनिंग सेंटर है, फाइनेंस का ट्रेनिंग सेंटर है, तो वो हम जो भी ट्रेनिंग कराते हैं वो पैसा वर्ल्ड बैंक हमको रिम्बर्स कर देता है।
यहाँ पे ट्रेनिंग
ट्रेनिंग
रिवर्स तो करेगा
लेकिन
करेगा
उसमें ये है कि उन्होंने ऐसा नहीं है कि वो हमको कैसे उसका सिलेक्शन करना है, सिलेक्शन प्रोसेस कुछ नहीं है। उन्होंने कहा कि हम उसके पार्ट हैं, तो वो हम ट्रेनिंग कराते हैं और वो पूरा पैसा रिम्बर्स करते
NIFM is already on the empanelment.
हैं। हाँ,
board, and
NIFM
that's why
भी
we are
है,
getting-
आज की है, NIFM
SK
है
also is.
और NIPFP भी है उसमें, ये इंस्टीट्यूट।
पर आपका FTI उनके में तो नहीं होगा पहले, जो ये वाला सुधो वाला।
सिर्फ
there are
वो वाला
no
नहीं है,
seat
हमारा
for-
और
नहीं,
NIFM के साथ भी है हमारा।
अच्छा, आपका टाइप।
हमारा टाइप है, आज की के साथ भी है।
There are वो NAFM और वो वर्ल्ड बैंक का अलावा वर्ल्ड बैंक प्रोक्योरमेंट ट्रेनिंग देने वाला और कोई इंस्टीट्यूट है ही नहीं. So that is also another single source justification. World Bank also recognizes that.
World
Bank also recognizes that.
खुद ही select किया हुआ है, तो there is no problem.
Correct.
Yes sir, you. Okay. हाँ जी.
Sir, in the case of goods, whether we have purchased on a brand specific, if you want to talk to, we are talking about the brand specific, such as we have procured 100 bicycles, and a brand specific in Bajaj. So when can we go a single source, because the price as per the GFR concern, the automobile sector at 30 lakh rupees you can go for the single source through a JAM here, it's a government side. So in as per my concern in IFED procurement rule, can we go a single source at a prior review?
Actually, वो prior review पे तो आप जा ही सकते हैं. If the justification is good enough, it will be agreed.
Because it's a
Why you want to select that brand?
हाँ, that of course you will justify.
See, that's why again what he said, that the need
That's
and
why, sir.
identification. The specification for a bicycle is it should have 2 wheels with the manual pedaling. That's all. Maybe the height and this one that can be done. You don't need a mountain bike for your project benefits.
So basically, the basic requirements certain like just Bajaj 100cc for an average purpose, because the hilly areas they are monitoring about the average. So just the basic justification in this regard. So can we go for that?
See, basic reply to your query is,
तरह सब product है
हाँ, वो क्वेश्चन कर सकते हैं. If there is good justification, then only it will be agreed.
It's a very
Normally it is difficult.
See,
For for buying it is
Bhutan, in
This
Bhutan,
is more of a personal choice कि मुझे लगता है कि बाजार
Right.
अच्छा है, it's like मुझे
Yes.
लगता है अच्छा है और
brands are not
Brands
specified.
हाँ, yes sir. Brand is
Right.
never specific.
Brands are not specified. But if there is a government guideline in Bhutan, all vehicles or Toyota Land Cruiser or Prado. Because the Royal Government of Bhutan has a framework agreement with the Toyota, and also there the road conditions are such they prefer only Toyota Land Cruiser and Prado.
You can say this is there in Bhutan.
In Bhutan, no other vehicle, Toyota, if you go to the project, they will buy only, even government, they will buy only Toyota Land Cruiser and Prado.
So that's a government regulation.
That's a government regulation. But here, you cannot specify brand. When we discuss about the fixing the specification, we will also talk more about that, how to do the specification.
इधर इसमें एक्चुअली क्या है कि प्रोजेक्ट में पूरा ट्रेनिंग का ही है। ट्रेनिंग के लिए हम एक प्लान बना रहे हैं, तो वो क्या, जैसे हमने कहा कि एक आदमी की कॉस्ट इतनी है, अभी तक तो हम क्या करते थे, इस होटल को ले लो, यहाँ पे ट्रेनिंग कर लो। अब क्या ये पहले से हमें प्रोक्यूरमेंट प्लान में डालना पड़ेगा या क्या?
Yes.
अगर आपके प्रोग्राम में
परसों मुझे ट्रेनिंग कराना है करके आज आके आप पीढ़ी को नहीं बता सकते।
हाँ, ऐसा नहीं.
पहले प्रोग्राम अपडेट होगा, अप्रूव होगा, तब आप
एडब्ल्यूपी में होगा, फिर
AWPP में उसका बजट होगी,
नहीं,
फिर उसके बाद जो भी
that's very
प्रोग्राम
कई बार ऐसी होती है कि जैसे हमें कुछ ट्रेनिंग जो है नीड बेस्ड हुआ, वो वहीं से निकल के आई, माना इम्प्लीमेंट करने में पता चला कि
नीड बेस्ड तो तैयार करना पड़ेगा। तो पहले तो आप प्लान तो करोगे,
आर करना आप एडब्ल्यूपी भी मतलब साल भर पहले बना दिया आपने।
हाँ,
रिवीजन होगा,
रिवीजन भी करा सकते हैं।
क्वार्टरली रिवीजन
नए रिक्वायरमेंट आएगी तो अपडेट तो होगा।
देखो 2 दिन में करना है, 2 दिन में करना है, दैट इज इमरजेंसी प्रोक्योरमेंट।
आप कई बार 2 दिन में भी करना पड़ता है।
2 दिन में करना है तो वो इमरजेंसी प्रोक्योरमेंट है, ये ट्रेनिंग इमरजेंसी नहीं है।
मतलब मार्केटिंग हमें जो है कोई प्रोडक्ट खरीदना है, वो तो
ये
आज
अलग चीज है।
वो खरीदना है तो वो आपका तो प्लान तो किए होंगे ना।
नहीं, वो तो इमरजेंसी प्लान होगा ना सर, उसमें
नहीं नहीं, इमरजेंसी हेल्थ इमरजेंसी में, जैसे नागालैंड में अफ्रीकन स्वाइन फ्लू है फॉर पिगरी, अफ्रीकन स्वाइन फ्लू का इट अफेक्टेड द पैंडेमिक, so they wanted, the government of Nagaland asked the project, because the piggery is a big activity, value chain activity in Nagaland and Mizoram. So when the African swine fever swept through the mother swine, so you have to cull the animals. So the vaccine have to be delivered and administered within a week before culling. So उस समय कोई प्रोक्योरमेंट प्रोसेस नहीं है, जहां आपको वैक्सीन वो वाला मिल रहा है जाकर उठाओ, पे करो, दैट इज इमरजेंसी प्रोक्योरमेंट। आपका मुझे परसों मुझे ट्रेनिंग मटेरियल का मुझे प्रिंट करवाना है करके आज आके आप प्रोक्योरमेंट यूनिट में बताओगे, वो नहीं चलेगा।
नहीं, जैसे अभी सर G20 का मैं एक आपको एग्जांपल दे रहा हूं, G20 को हमने सैंपल भेजे, दिसंबर में G20 होना है। अब पता चला कि वो तो 5 दिन पहले उन्होंने बताया कि भाई ये आपका बनाना है, तो फिर वो तो इमरजेंसी हो गया ना, मान लो भाई G20 कंट्रीज को हमने गिफ्ट देना है और मेरे पास जो है 5 दिन पहले आ रहा है, तो फिर वो प्रोक्योरमेंट किस में जाएगा? क्योंकि कई बार ऐसे नहीं, मतलब कई बार ऐसी सिचुएशन मेरे साथ मतलब होता है। नहीं, होता है ऐसा कई बार।
देखो G20 से आ रहा है, तो जस्टिफिकेशन में आप ये कहोगे G20 से आपका कुछ तो कम्युनिकेशन आया होगा, उसमें डेट तो लिखा होगा, डेट तो लिखा होगा, फिर that becomes a justification, उनसे लेटर भी आया होगा, justification, that becomes a justification।
वो बोले 5 दिन पहले आया, that is something which is not in your hands.
Your hands.
Emergency is something which is beyond your
control.
capacity control. Yes. So
You
that
could not have
you
planned
can
for
consider.
You could not have planned for it.
See,
Emergency
you are
you could not have planned.
Could have planned, yes.
We are not prohibiting, IFAD is not prohibiting single source.
But it's with appropriate justification it has to.
Justification, because अगर हम वो वाला फ्लड गेट्स हम ओपन करेंगे competition होगा ही नहीं. There are projects, they source the consultancy services only through single source. They don't want to tender because process is involved. पहले पता नहीं था कि कौन सिंगल सोर्स कितना कर रहा है करके, अभी पता नहीं था. अभी now because of the notice and the data coming up, the senior management of IFAD can know in the Asia and Pacific region what is the total value of procurement undertaken. If it is 100 million in this year, how much is competitive and how much is single source? Because the contract monitoring is tagged, your notice is tagged. Contract monitoring में आप डालोगे single source करके डालोगे. So that the data gives an idea. This much. So if the project consistently goes for only for single source, then there is something seriously wrong in the project planning process. One or two or like what you said, one of instances, outliers, it doesn't make that a prohibited practice. It's not a prohibited practice. But competition, when the project needs to promote competition, one or two instances like what you said, if you provide a proper justification, it is always acceptable.
For normal items like stationery or basic goods, etc., the important driver is cost. For seasonal demands, emergency needs, as you just pointed out, time is the most important driver, and the speed of procurement becomes important. Okay, so even if you go for single source, it is fine.
But don't make everything emergency.
No, you cannot
Your
make
lack of
that.
planning, your lack of planning cannot become emergency. For you, it may be emergency, but for a process and for the project, it is not emergency. Otherwise, you will every day you will come to Lalit and say, "मुझे कल ही चाहिए."
Only urgency cannot be a good justification for single source. What is the purpose of making a plan? Or the purpose of planning is to fulfill the needs of goods, works, and services in a timely manner. If you are not planned, you are not able to follow a particular method which is economical and justifiable. So, if you plan in advance, you can do it timely. Even if you have to go for ICT for very high value project, you can do it timely. To procure at a reasonable cost, because cost is important for any project. Then to factor in quality in the process as well as product service. Okay, and you have to ensure the project management and assurance which we have provided to DEA also and IFAD also. So we have to follow that. Then what is the importance of procurement plan? Procurement plan, I don't know whether all of you have seen.
How many of them have seen the procurement plan of REAP at the district? Have you seen the procurement plan?
You have seen.
सिस्टम में सेंट्रलाइज किया
ये
एक माह में अकाउंट में खोले
नहीं, ILSP में
ILSP हाँ,
ILSP में देखा है इसको
Have you
बनाते
seen the procurement plan?
हमारा प्रोग्राम चलते हमारे MIS में था ILSP के और हर डिस्ट्रिक्ट के अंदर
planning process or in the procurement process. So I think at least we should insist that the procurement plan is put on your website at least, so that people are able to have a look, and it becomes transparent also, because there is nothing to hide from public. So we should put it on the website. So the procurement plan is prepared for matching the project objective. We discussed briefly in the morning. As somebody said that anything which is not in AWPP cannot come to procurement plan. Okay. I don't know whether you are. I think you discussed in the morning. Initial procurement plan is made for 18 months when you start the project, and after that 1 year each. Okay. Quantities and items should match price and cost. You have a costing table which has been provided to you. You also have cost in your AWPP. So the procurement plan, the cost which is given should match with that. There are some cross-cutting category items also, like suppose there is some goods you are purchasing in which some services are also involved. In some cases, some works may be involved. But then the method which you will follow will depend on what? The bulk of the purchase. That means if goods is 90%, you will follow goods. Okay? Then you have to follow financing agreement. This was discussed in the morning. Then you have to follow the letter to borrowers and you have to follow the guidance. All these things were discussed in the morning. So the procurement plan has to be made considering all these factors.
Cross-cutting category items. Within one item, one activity, mixture.
Yes. Like I said, let's say you are buying some machinery which also involves installation. Some works may be involved. But then you will use that category in which bulk of the procurement is there. Like if the machinery goes 95% and 5% installation, for which some foundation has to be made, then you will buy it as a goods.
Good. But if there is works, you need a building, right? You want to construct a building, and in that there are some goods are involved, say like air conditioner or a turnkey basis, air conditioner or some other electrical fittings, sanitary fittings. So these are all cost-wise, they are all maybe 10% of the total cost. So you will adopt the works, main word this is works, subsidy is goods. If it is a bulk machinery, say like you want to have a solar panel pump, water pump. For that, you need to mount the solar panel, making a platform and pump with the parapet or something. So that cost is relatively low. The goods, solar panel and pump cost is more. So you do it the goods, and in the ancillary services, when you do the schedule of requirements, you put this as also to be done by the bidder.
But in the procurement plan, we should put it in the
Goods. So that's why we are saying majority of the money is being spent on goods. So that's why it become in goods category. Okay. So this is overview of procurement planning. First you identify the needs, then you determine the procurement strategies which is there for a particular project. Establish packages. In this is important for you to understand. Some of the things you may like to combine together, some of the things you may like to split together. What are the examples? What are the things which you would like to join together for economies of scale? And there are certain things which you like to break. But this breaking is not to be done to avoid higher level of this bidding process. So what are the examples? Some of the items which you want to be done by community, that is an example of breaking. Okay, but there is a justification because those items are locally available nearby places, small constructions are there at scattered places. If you want to go for a bulk tendering for all these places, that will be more costly. It will be difficult to implement, it will be costlier also. So there you would like to break. Localize because of the ease involved. But there are certain items where you have to combine together. For example, just one example was given, solar water pump is to be bought for many places. So you cannot expect community to buy that. Okay, and if you buy 200 water pumps at KV level, it will be cheaper. Okay. Third method, which is there, is to break it into lots. You have one bid only, but if you find that the bidders are smaller, bidders are there, SME sector is there, they may not be able to participate for all the lots at one time. But then you want to increase them. Then you have 4 or 5 different lots so that even smaller people can participate, smaller vendors can participate. So it depends on your objective, how you want to do it. Okay?
See the lot, when you say lot, say suppose you want to construct a village road, 25 kilometers, one bid. Each kilometer of road cost you something, bitumen road cost you something like 50 lakhs, 45 to 55 lakhs depending upon the business. So if you 45 lakhs times 25 kilometers, then the bid value becomes huge. Then the minimum qualifying criteria for the bidder, the standard class 1, class 2, only higher qualified contractors will apply. So if you split it, say maybe from 1 kilometer to 4 kilometer, one lot, kilometer 5 to kilometer 10. So then that is one way of lot. The second is if you are buying office equipments, you are at the start of the project. You want to buy photocopier, you want to buy computer, you want to buy desktop computer, you want to buy printer. Normally, if you adopt a different procurement process for each of these, then your effort and energy is multiplied by 5 times. So in those cases, you say lot 1, I need 10 laptops. Lot 2, I need 5 printers. Lot 3, I need 5 photocopiers. Lot 4, maybe digital camera, 25 digital cameras. The advantage of this is the packaging and the lot is, the process is one. You will advertise once, you will evaluate once, and at the same time, you enter into a contract and you will achieve the procurement in a same 45 days time. If you lump everything together under NCB, not all manufacturers, the manufacturer which is producing laptop may not be producing printer, may not be producing photocopier. So if you lump everything together, no original manufacturer will apply, only a general dealer will apply. This happened in your LIPH. LIPH, all your award of contract was general order supplier, only dealers. So that is why we want you to adopt the packaging efficiently so that you do only one process.
So in the clear. So while when you prepare this packaging, you have to clearly think whether your objective is being met. Prepare procurement plan by category. That we know that for goods there will be different sheet and works consultancy will be different sheet. And as far as non-consultancy is concerned, depending upon the type of procurement, you will put in goods also get consultancy. Then segregate by category of procurement this will. The initial plan will be for 18 months at the time of design, at the time of startup of the project, and then after every 12 months. Excel template for procurement planning has to be used. This is revised now, but as it was discussed in the morning, we will have end-to-end system, but the planning more or less remains the same, even though it is end-to-end system, but the planning is same. And must include a brief description and the value of each procurement activity. What do you mean by brief description? In the works, if you say construction of a room, will that be sufficient?
Size,
Size will be there.
quality of materials.
Yes. It should be brief, but at the same time, it should have the required description. One worksheet for every category is fine. Non-consultancy should be inserted in the right category. Only items in the plan can be procured. We have discussed all this. Initial submission with realistic plan dates only. So when you submit the procurement plan, you have dates, plan dates for each stage. It should not happen that you write for evaluation and taking 4 months after that give the contract another 5 months, not like that. You have to take realistic dates which are also optimistic. Okay. Estimated prices must be reasonable. We will come in next slide, how do you estimate the prices? So estimated prices should be reasonable, also based on the cost tables, but reasonable. If it's no objection to procurement plan is mandatory, that also we have discussed. Without no objection from IFED, we cannot start any procurement. Even though it is a procurement plan, but if it has not been objected, you cannot make any procurement. This we have already discussed. Stakeholders we briefly discussed. The stakeholders, you have to have regular communication with stakeholders, and stakeholders include your end users, community representatives, local authorities, civil society, regional, central government, IFED also for the project. Okay, so you have to consider all this. Market we have discussed, but just for sake of completion, this slide is there. We discussed in the morning. Risk. Just for your understanding, you have to identify the source of risk. Risk could be internal, related to market, related to stakeholders, related to your PMU itself. CCAP, you understand? No. Social, environmental, and climate assessment procedures. Okay. So basically now this has become very important. Environmental and social and climate, you have to consider this aspect in all your tenders, especially in works. Okay, when you construct roads, etc., they should not be harming the environment. So this has become very important. And then fourth is important for your purpose is that when you have identified a risk, what do you want to do with that risk? Whether you want to mitigate, that means you want to take some action to reduce that risk, or you want to transfer it to somebody means transfer it to the contractor or supplier, or you want to accept the risk, okay, let the risk come, we will see, or you want to avoid the risk. How do you avoid? Just don't go for that procurement. Okay. Then we come to the estimation of the price. How do we do that? आप लोग कैसे करते हैं? When how do you estimate the price? When you have a demand, how do you estimate the price? कितना price होगा? Market survey. Market survey is one. और last acquisition price, that is last estimate. किसी की
और कुछ 10% एस्केलेशन रखते थे जिसको लेवल प्राइस होगा, ये होगा, वो एस्टिमेट के अंदर डाल
वर्ड्स में वो आज पढ़ दो स्पेसिफिकेशन.
ठीक है. और आप लोग बताइए, how do you estimate the price when you plan something?
दूसरे सोर्स से भी पता चलता है.
जेम पोर्टल पे भी चेक कर सकते हैं. कैटलॉग्स देखिए वेंडर्स का,
प्राइस कोटेशन,
गूगल रिसर्च कर रहे हैं.
प्रीवियस रिक्वायरमेंट देख
मार्केट सर्वे.
सर कभी-कभी गवर्नमेंट के रेट्स,
government rates, yes. So all these are methods of estimating the cost. Okay. So then we also have to identify the duration and cost estimate for delivery implementation. Include the lead times required for doing all these actions. What we discussed is here. How do you estimate the cost? Data from previous acquisition, market research and published prices, catalogs, professional group estimates, consultant's estimate. You can hire a consultant and he will make an estimate for you, or your engineers will make an estimate for you. Breakdown of unit prices. Okay. And then extrapolation from analysis of similar items. Okay. These are some of the items. You mentioned more than these items, so these are some of the items. Packaging, I think it has been discussed very nicely already. What are the types of specifications? There are broadly 3 types of specifications. Okay. One is technical specification. Technical specification means what? You are giving the full requirement, this size, this material, etc. Okay.
This composition.
Pardon?
This composition.
This composition. So you are providing, see, technical specification is a full design like description and elaboration of the requirement. So if you have a technical specification available, then you go for lowest evaluated price. There is no other way, because you clearly specified I need this, and everybody has to abide by that. If somebody is not abiding by that thing, then the bid is rejected.
सर दो संस्थान गवर्नमेंट की
But हाँ,
सीट प्रोक्योरमेंट के केस में सीपीआरआई भी सेंट्रल प्रोटेक्टिव रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट शिमला क्वालिटी सीट सप्लाई करते हैं, हॉर्टिकल्चर डिपार्टमेंट भी क्वालिटी सीट प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं इन द स्टेट। तो हम लोगों को कहाँ जाना चाहिए इन केस ऑफ उत्तराखंड? मान लीजिए देहरादून में किसानों को आलू का बीज चाहिए और उन्हें कुफरी चमत्कार या कुफरी जोत जो भी बीज है वो चाहिए, स्पेसिफाई है वैरायटी उनकी, और वो सेम वैरायटी अवेलेबल है हॉर्टिकल्चर डिपार्टमेंट में और सीपीआरआई में। तो सर रेट्स सीपीआरआई की ट्रांसपोर्टेशन कॉस्ट बढ़ रही है, उद्यान विभाग में भी अवेलेबल है, तो सर हमें क्या करना चाहिए?
नहीं, आप दोनों से कोटेशन लीजिए ना, दोनों
दोनों गवर्नमेंट संस्थान से
दोनों गवर्नमेंट को भरे, दोनों गवर्नमेंट को। अगर आप सिंगल सोर्स पे जाएंगे तो यू शुड हैव जस्टिफिकेशन, और जस्टिफिकेशन में आपको ये तो बताना ही पड़ेगा ना कि दिस इज चीपर टू मी। तो चीपर कैसे बताएंगे? आपने कोटेशन ही दे दिया तो उससे। सो यू विल हैव टू सीक कोटेशन इवन इफ इट इज अ गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट। गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट भी कोटेशन देता है, मोस्ट ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट्स आर गिविंग कोटेशंस।
रेट्स देते हैं,
तो हां रेट्स देते हैं, ठीक है, चाहे उनके पब्लिश रेट्स हैं, चाहे उनके आपने मांगा दस दिया, so you then you compare the rates and say कि this is how this one is cheaper and it will be agreed. ठीक है। Then what is the different second type of specification is performance specification. What is performance specification? What should the product do? पहले वाला में तो हमने सब कुछ स्पेसिफाई कर दिया था कि भाई ये मटेरियल है, ये साइज है, लाइक इवन इन केस ऑफ कार 150 सीसी का होना चाहिए, स्टील की बॉडी होनी चाहिए, इतना लेंथ होना चाहिए, इतना विड्थ होना चाहिए, इतना सीटिंग कैपेसिटी होनी चाहिए, सीट ऐसी बनी होनी चाहिए, लेदर की होनी चाहिए, एवरीथिंग वी हैव गिवन। In the second specification, performance specification, we say what the product should do, means कार का माइलेज वगैरह तो उसमें आ गया। इसमें हाँ, हम और कुछ नहीं बता रहे, हम ये कह रहे हैं कि कार आई नीड ए व्हीकल जो 5 लोगों को बिठा पाए, उसकी माइलेज मोर देन 25 किलोमीटर पर लीटर होनी चाहिए। दिस परफॉर्मेंस वी आर गिविंग, परफॉर्मेंस स्पेसिफिकेशन, व्हाट इट विल डू। तो दैट मींस यू आर नॉट स्पेसिफाइंग ए पर्टिकुलर प्रोडक्ट। जो वेंडर होगा, ही कैन मेक इनोवेशन ऑफ प्रोवाइडिंग यू दैट पर्टिकुलर सप्लाई। लाइक मेरा रूम का टेम्परेचर 25 डिग्री पे रहना चाहिए, ओके, तो आपको कितना टन का कैपेसिटी का वो चाहिए और क्या चाहिए, यू आर नॉट स्पेसिफाइंग। तो दैट इज फॉर वेंडर टू डिसाइड, ओके।
वो वाला के टेक्निकल स्पेसिफिकेशन में नहीं है,
वो टेक्निकल नहीं है ना, आप परफॉर्मेंस स्पेसिफाई कर रहे हैं, what performance it will give, what the product will do, हाँ, what the product will do। आप ये कह रहे हैं, अभी हम आएंगे नॉर्मली इन रियल लाइफ सिनेरियो यू हैव अ कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ दिस थ्री, एक ही आपको होता नहीं ठीक है। तो वी आर जस्ट फर्स्ट वी आर ट्राइंग टू सी व्हाट आर द टाइप ऑफ स्पेसिफिकेशंस, ओके। फर्स्ट टेक्निकल वेयर यू स्पेसिफाई एवरीथिंग, सेकंड इज परफॉर्मेंस। इसका मतलब ये है कि व्हाट शुड द प्रोडक्ट डू, हाउ इट परफॉर्म्स। 1 मिनट में 50 फोटोकॉपी हो जानी चाहिए, ठीक है, समथिंग लाइक दैट। You are not giving anything else, okay? तो इस केस में क्या होगा कि जो थर्ड है वो व्हाट सब्जेक्ट ऑफ द प्रोक्योरमेंट इज एंड व्हाट द क्लाइंट इंटेंड्स टू यूज इट फॉर फंक्शन। तो जो सेकंड एंड थर्ड है उसमें डू यू अंडरस्टैंड इट इज डिफिकल्ट टू गो फॉर लोएस्ट प्राइस because people will quote you different solutions. Okay, तो यहाँ पे फिर merit based system can be used.
एक्सपेक्टेशन के अनुसार भी प्राइस बढ़ सकता है।
Yes. So then it also depends on your judgment whether it is fulfilling your requirement or not. Okay.
टेक्निकल तो स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड मुझे इतना ही ना चाहिए।
हाँ,
यहाँ पर बहुत सारे ऑप्शंस हैं।
टेक्निकल में तो आपने उसको वेंडर को रिस्ट्रिक्ट कर दिया कि you have to give me only this and they have to supply you that. इसमें they have innovation. They can use their judgment and give you solution. But वो solution may or may not be acceptable to you and you have to provide marks. उसके अंदर इस सिस्टम के अंदर आप क्वालिटी के और प्राइस के मार्क्स रख सकते हैं। इसमें 20% मार्क्स normally we agree to 20% marks on quality and 80% on price. Okay, so you have like consultancy, you can use this where you have performance and this thing. But let me tell you again that in case of your projects, these are very rarely used. Normally you go for the first one.
Yes, technical.
Okay,
Technical.
but it is available.
That quality.
But you should know that these are also procurement methods. That's why they are just discussed. The second third we have discussed. When specifications are prescriptive, just we discussed like technical design, lowest evaluated. When specifications allows bidders to innovate, then the highest rank bid. And when we use the subject procurement involves high operating and maintenance cost, तब आपको lowest net present value भी लेना होता है life cost basis पे। Life cost basis के लिए क्या examples आते हैं आपके माइंड में? Anybody can say anything? लाइफ टोटल लाइफ के ऊपर जो कॉस्ट लगेगी उसका नेट प्रेजेंट वैल्यू निकालेंगे। Whosoever is quoting lowest, we will take that. Even if you have technical specification. क्या है? जनरेटर आता है माइंड में। इतनी वैल्यू, इतने ही पावर आउटपुट के लिए
सोलर पैनल भी
सोलर पैनल इज आल्सो पॉसिबल। सो ओवर लेट अस से उसकी लाइफ 10 साल की है। 10 साल में ऑपरेटिंग मान लीजिए उसी की बात करें डीजल जनरेटर की, डीजल इंजन जनरेटर की, हाउ मच डीजल इट विल कंज्यूम ओवर 10 years, what will be the repair and maintenance cost and what will be other costs, उस सबको आप नेट प्रेजेंट वैल्यू पे ले आइए और 10 years अगर उसकी लाइफ है then whosoever is quoting the lowest 50.
इन्वर्टर भी जब हम यूज करते हैं घर पे,
इन्वर्टर का भी हो सकता है।
हाँ, इन्वर्टर जनरेटर।
सो
सर नेट प्रेजेंट वैल्यू करने से तो हम लोग को डेप्रिसिएशन वैल्यू भी लेना पड़ेगा।
वो आपको लिखना पड़ेगा। You will have to write in your bid document कि I am going to discount at this rate.
For the period,
For
10 years या 5 years?
10 years, 15 years, 5 years,
5
depending
years.
upon the life of that particular right. Okay, but this ये जो लाइफ टाइम वाला है ये आपके प्रोजेक्ट में हो सकता है you may be needing some time.
सर गवर्नमेंट एजेंसी जैसे CIAE है, सेंट्रल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर इंजीनियरिंग भोपाल, वो कोई फार्म इक्विपमेंट दे रही है, उसकी कॉस्ट ज़्यादा है, पर लेकिन ऑन द अदर हैंड जो प्राइवेट एंटरप्रेन्योर्स हैं या जो मैन्युफैक्चरर्स हैं उनके यहाँ उसी टाइप का फार्म मशीनरी इक्विपमेंट्स चीपर है और पावर HP वगैरह उसके हाउस पावर वगैरह सेम है। इन तो ऐसे केस में क्या करेंगे सर?
तो ऐसे केस में अगर आपको ये मालूम है कि दोनों की क्वालिटी में कोई फर्क नहीं है तो आपको जो भी कोड कर रहा है जो आपकी क्वालिटी रिक्वायरमेंट है, if some vendor is meeting those requirements and your specification is already described, तो आपको lowest से लेना है। If lowest vendor is fulfilling all your requirements, technical requirements which are specified in the bid document, तो आप उसको इग्नोर नहीं कर सकते।
ट्रांसपोर्टेशन कॉस्ट भी सर।
हाँ, वो सारी कॉस्ट मिला के।
लेकिन सर वो स्पेशलाइज्ड है, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया का है।
नहीं ठीक है, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया का भले ही हो, unless you are able to justify on some ground कि this one is better, तो आप वो better किस तरीके से कह पाएंगे, then you have to decide. अगर आपने स्पेसिफिकेशन बना दिया, उस स्पेसिफिकेशन को गवर्नमेंट का इंस्टीट्यूशन भी कोट कर रहा है, somebody else is also quoting. Suppose I am just saying, आपने just for exaggeration point of view, आपने कहा कि I want to buy silver. Okay, silver is at 10,000, जो भी 50,000 rupees एक किलो चल रहा है ना आजकल, 50,000 rupees एक केजी है. Somebody quotes silver lowest वो है 50,000 पे. Somebody else quotes 51,000 rupees, लेकिन कैरेट गोल्ड दे दूंगा एक किलो आपको. ओके, लेकिन आपने तो सिल्वर ही टेंडर किया है, तो स्टिल यू कैन नॉट गो टू 51,000 रुपीस गोल्ड अनलेस यू हैड सम मेरिट सिस्टम एटसेट्रा इन योर बिड डॉक्यूमेंट.
सर ऐसा एक आया था हमारा एक गवर्नमेंट का वो आईसी से हम लोग कस्टम हायर सेक्टर के लिए फोर प्लाव ट्रैक्टर लेवल इक्विपमेंट से कर रहे हैं. ऐसा ही हम लोगों ने कॉम्परेटिव किया था, लेकिन आपने जो बोला परफॉर्मेंस इवैल्यूएशन, वो ओएएस ने कोट किया है कितना सैंपल्स कितना दिन तक मींस कितना साल से वो वाला इक्विपमेंट अच्छा परफॉर्म कर रहा है, उसका एक नोटिंग दिया था लाइफ का. तो उसी बेसिस में भी हम लोग इवैल्यूएट किए थे. ये न्यूली एंटर्ड एंटरप्रेन्योर है, प्राइवेट एंटरप्रेन्योर है, इसका परफॉर्मेंस ये सैंपल बेसिस में 5 ही दे पा रहा है, ये लोग 5,000 सैंपल दे रहे हैं. तो उसी हिसाब से हम लोगों ने इवैल्यूएट किया था, गवर्नमेंट एजेंसी के साथ गए थे हम लोग.
और इनका भी आपने जो बताया ना, सॉरी नाम तो मुझे किसी, आपने जो बताया गवर्नमेंट इंस्टीट्यूशन इज सप्लाइंग समथिंग व्हिच यू फील इज अ गुड क्वालिटी, तो आप उनको प्रैक्टिकल टेस्ट भी कर सकते हैं एंड सी व्हाट एक्चुअली इट मींस.
उनकी जेनेरिक कॉस्ट ज्यादा रहती है. आप क्लेम करते हैं कि we are better than that of private manufacturers.
In all respect, या तो ये है कि when you make the specifications, are there something to add to that specification to make it better?
Something is there.
हाँ, something is
That's
there.
why they are claiming there.
Yes, if you can add that to specification, then it is fine. Maybe others don't have that. तो आपको देखना है, और जो आप ऐड करेंगे whether that is a common thing. ऐसा नहीं कि सिर्फ वो एक ही बना रहा हो, कोई नहीं बना रहा, फिर अगर सिंगल सोर्स टाइप हो जाएगा. तो थोड़ा सा वो देखना पड़ेगा. KPIs, ये जो KPIs है, these are for procurement plan as well as this procurement department also, but KPIs also you have to put for your procurement also. Like if you want to buy goods, how it happens. Like the basic KPI includes plant versus actual, कितना सही जा रहा है प्रोजेक्ट के लिए from the project perspective, and then some of the KPIs may include number of bids received also. मतलब किसी प्रोजेक्ट में आपको पता लगे number of bids are only 2, 3, और किसी में एक ही होता है, किसी में 5 होते हैं, तो that also gives you better rating. How much time you take in evaluation? Okay, and what is the percentage completion of procurement plan as per estimate dates? Okay. So these give you good rating. If you are doing as per the plan, then it is good for your project.
सर कुछ संस्थान ऐसे हैं जो भारत सरकार की और उत्तराखंड सरकार की सीड कहें या कुछ, वो कहते हैं कि हमें एडवांस चाहिए 50%. जैसे सीपीआरआई के केस में सर जब वहाँ पे प्रोटेक्टिव सीड की बात करते थे वहाँ के डायरेक्टर से, तो हमेशा कहते थे कि आपको एडवांस यहाँ पर बुकिंग करानी होगी. तो ऐसी परिस्थितियों में क्या कर सकते हैं सर?
Actually, normally IFED agrees up to 20%. लेकिन ऐसे केसेस में गवर्नमेंट वाले केसेस में आप जस्टिफिकेशन करके भेजेंगे तो इट माइट बी एग्रीड. बट जनरल रूल इज 20%.
50%
जा सकते हैं, बट जनरल रूल इज 20%. और वो रूल तो ये है कि इट शुड बी अगेंस्ट कोलैटरल सिक्योरिटी, बट गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट आपको कोलैटरल सिक्योरिटी देगा नहीं. So then you have to take some letter, undertaking letter, etc. And if it might agree. Oh, I don't know whether you heard about general procurement notice. No. Not even procurement people, and nobody has dealt with procurement. General procurement notice, and there is one thing called specific procurement notice. नो आइडिया? प्रोक्योरमेंट का वो ललित जी थे, वो चले गए इधर से, वो नहीं है। जनरल प्रोक्योरमेंट नोटिस जो होता है, जनरल प्रोक्योरमेंट नोटिस सबसे पहला नोटिस होता है जो इशू किया जाता है बाय ए प्रोजेक्ट व्हेन द प्रोजेक्ट स्टार्ट्स। जनरल प्रोक्योरमेंट नोटिस पे यू विल राइट कि मुझे इस टाइप की रिक्वायरमेंट होने वाली है ओवर द लाइफ ऑफ द प्रोजेक्ट। ओके, आपने इशू नहीं किया अभी,
नहीं इशू
that has to be issued and it is prior reviewed। और उसका फायदा क्या होता है कि all the vendors they will note down, okay, this project is going to purchase these types of things, and in that you will write that if you are interested in any of these things, please advise us। You will keep a record of those vendors। जब आप वो चीज एक्चुअली खरीदेंगे तो उसको इन्फॉर्म करेंगे कि हम ये खरीदने वाले हैं। ओके, so this general procurement notice is mandatory for all the projects। In fact, when you issue actual notice for procurement, there you have to give a reference of GPN, the GPN was issued on such and such date, with reference to that this is being issued। okay, so procurement plan is a live document that must be regularly updated with the actual dates। Of course this is important from procurement perspective only। At least we expect every quarter you send updated procurement plan to IFED। And as we are discussing short while ago, it should be updated as necessary for major changes to the plan। It is
जो आपने ये बताया जनरल प्रोक्योरमेंट हो गया, तो हमें एचआर एजेंसी हायर करनी है, एमसीएफ हायर करनी है, तो ये हम प्रोजेक्ट से मतलब हायर करने से पहले लोगों को नोटिस करना चाहिए।
उससे पहले मतलब जब आप जनरल प्रोक्योरमेंट नोटिस इशू करते हैं तो आपको पूरे 6 साल में एग्जैक्ट नहीं मालूम होता कि क्या क्या खरीदने वाले हैं, बट यू ओनली आर एबल टू इंडिकेट जब इस तरह की प्रोक्योरमेंट करने वाले हैं।
जैसे अभी भी हमें सर्विसेज खरीदनी पड़ा, वैल्यू चेन की एक्सपोर्ट की
हाँ,
इस तरीके के लोग
राइट। यू विल से we will hire consultants of this expertise, we will hire consultancy services of this type, we will hire goods of this type, works of nature, broad nature you will mention, and then vendors or the consultants who will be interested, they will say yes we are interested in these things, please keep us informed। Then somebody in the project he will keep a record of those emails etc, and they will inform them as and when actual tender is issued।
तो फिर इसको एडवर्टाइज पेपर में एडवर्टाइज करना पड़ेगा।
It is advertised in paper, it is kept on UNDP, UN Development Business, and also IFED's website besides your own website। So GPN is very important, which we were not very strict about it, but now by
लोकल लोग भी अवेयर रहेंगे कि हम क्या
हाँ, yes
एमईएसएमई ट्रू क्रिएट करते हैं जो हमारी सहकारिता ही बनी है। ये अच्छा
वो इन्होंने GPN इशू नहीं किया है, इनका अगला SPN इशू करने से पहले GPN इशू करना है।
क्योंकि जीपीएस का उनका वो वाला एडवाइजरी गया हुआ है क्या इंक्लूड करना है,
वो वही बात है
कर देंगे सर, वो 7 साल का जो डाल दिया उसके अंदर, और 7 साल का एस्टिमेशन बनाना बड़ा मुश्किल हो रहा है।
कांस्टेबल पे है ना, कांस्टेबल पे बड़ा मुश्किल हो रहा है, कांस्टेबल है ना आपका।
चलो कोशिश कर।
Plan versus actual dates, we just discussed this you must put your actual dates and submit every quarter। Updating the procurement plan, updating the procurement plan, updating is okay, you just said it, no objection is not required। Updating means you are only putting the actual dates, but when we talk about upgrading, that means you are adding some new line items। okay, so whenever you add new line items, that becomes upgrading the procurement plan, and this needs no objection। okay, if you change the procurement method, you add certain items, delete certain items, deleting of course may not be so critical, but adding is critical। if you add something, you cannot take procurement without no objection।
जब जैसे मैं किसी को जानता हूँ, मैंने बोला कि हम ये खरीदने वाले हैं इस साल
जी,
मैंने उनको बता दिया, और मैं प्रोक्योरमेंट कमेटी में का भी सदस्य हूँ, तो क्या ये कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट
नहीं, एक्चुअली क्या है कि जब आप वर्बली किसी को बताते हैं तब प्रॉब्लम होती है। जब ईमेल लिखते हैं सभी को लिखते हैं, जिन लोगों ने आपको ऑलरेडी अपने वो दे रखे हैं, तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है।
जैसे कोई पूछ लेता है भाई आपको क्या होगा,
क्या एनीथिंग which is हाँ बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं आप। नो नो, it is an issue anything which is in public domain, you share with somebody, absolutely no problem. Something which is not in public domain,
procurement plan भी public domain होना चाहिए।
होना चाहिए, that is what I was just telling you, no?
Actually,
It
website
should be there.
होना चाहिए, फिर तो हम किसी को भी बोल सकते हैं।
हाँ हाँ हाँ,
अगर ये करनी
जो भी चीज आपकी पब्लिक डोमेन में आप किसी से भी डिस्कस
वेबसाइट
करें,
आपने इसलिए बनाया है ना, वेबसाइट पे
okay? Anything in public domain you can discuss, you can tell somebody, but public domain में नहीं है, that is a confidential thing.
Then it's okay.
Yes, then it's okay.
क्या पब्लिक डोमेन में आप डालना चाह रहे हैं, that is also you need to decide. Procurement
इसीलिए
plan
decide
में
करना है.
see what you want to procure, what is the duration और ये कब चाहिए, that can be disclosed. Estimated cost you cannot disclose in each and every case, so you make a modification.
only require
क्या रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है, रिक्वायरमेंट ब्रीफ डिस्क्रिप्शन होना चाहिए, कितने आइटम होना चाहिए, कौन सा सिलेक्शन मेथड से आप करेंगे, कब आपका रिक्वायरमेंट, एस्टिमेटेड डेट, अगर ये वाला 22-23 में आपका 50 कंप्यूटर ले रहे हैं, 10 फोटोकॉपियर ले रहे हैं, बाय दिस पीरियड से मे बी बाय दिसंबर यू वांट टू बाय, सिलेक्शन मेथड क्या है, शॉपिंग से है, एनसीपी से है, ये सर्विसेज क्यूसीबीएस से है. This is GPN. GPN is not binding on the project. वो कोई ये नहीं कहेगा आपने GPN इश्यू कर दिया, आपने ये प्रोक्यूर क्यों नहीं कराया. It is just for information. SPN is your actual procurement process, special procurement,
GPN is
specific.
only for advertised procurement.
GPN is to inform the wider suppliers, source of suppliers. There is a project called the REAP in Uttarakhand, and this during the 7-year period, they may require these items or these type of services. So if they are interested, they will let you know, okay, yes, I am interested in this service. So keep us informed when you have a specific procurement notice.
What type of procurement item in that? They advertise, yeah, only quotation, notation, that is not.
All.
In quotation.
जितने भी आप डाल सकते हैं, it will be
और
good
फिर
for the
operating
finance.
expenses के लिए
Don't
जो
take
state
any
में जो
money.
है, आप मत डालो उसमें, because that is not there. Project procurement के लिए आपका 10 व्हीकल ले रहे हैं, 50 लैपटॉप ले रहे हैं, 10 फोटोकॉपियर, बेसलाइन सर्वे, मिडलाइन सर्वे, एंडलाइन सर्वे, ऑडिट, इंटरनल ऑडिट. अगर एनजीओ एंगेज करना चाहते हैं, कोई कम्युनिटी मोबिलाइजेशन के लिए एनजीओ एंगेज करना चाहते हैं, सो ऑल दीज थिंग्स यू कैन इंक्लूड देयर इन द जीपीएन. GPN is only for information purpose, so that the wider the seller community, they are aware. हाँ, ये रीप करके प्रोजेक्ट आने है, तो आपका वेबसाइट इतना फेमस वेबसाइट तो नहीं है, कोई रोज आके आपका वेबसाइट में आपका अकाउंट बढ़ता रहेगा. So if there is a GPN, they will know, yes, there is a देहरादून में PMU में एक रीप का प्रोजेक्ट है, it's a external aided project, उन्होंने बोला है ये वाला करने के लिए, so they will look for it. अगर आप एडवर्टाइज करोगे, एडवर्टाइजमेंट का आपका वैलिडिटी क्या है, उस दिन का न्यूज़पेपर में पब्लिश होती है. अगर वो उस दिन का पेपर मिस हो गया, दे डोंट नो, कोई भी आके अभी पुराना
सर्विसेज वो हमें जरूरत पड़ने वाला है, तो जो भी प्लेयर्स उस फील्ड में होंगे पहले से अच्छे से तैयारी भी कर सकते हैं, हमें क्वालिटी चीज मिलने का भी ज्यादा एश्योरेंस हो सकता है.
See, if it is a off-the-shelf procurement, off-the-shelf items, they will not make any specific modification to it. But there are fabrication of machinery involved, so they will be very much interested because it is made to order. Some of the machineries, like processing machineries, they are made to order. Each millimeter and each of this one, that counts. So fabrication, वो वाला machinery क्या है? If they are in MSME sector, they are always looking for opportunity for business. So that will also help them to get the apply for the contract.
Sir, as he was also saying, the cooperatives who are involved into various kinds of small scale industries level का, तो अगर उनको भी एडवांस में पता है कि ये सब जरूरत पड़ने वाले हैं,
They can produce and keep it.
करना शुरू कर सकते हैं,
They can produce and
करके अपना
नहीं अभी जैसे उनको पता है कि हमें मैन पावर हायर करनी है, ये कोई हमारी बड़ी कोऑपरेटिव है वो मैन पावर देगी,
They can start preparing for that.
दे शुड मेंटली प्रिपेयर ना. अभी हमें गाड़ियां हायर करनी है तो गाड़ियां हायर करने के लिए हमारी कोई कोऑपरेटिव गाड़ी हायर कर सकती है. तो मतलब ये पब्लिक डोमेन में अगर हो जाए तो अच्छा ही है.
See, बड़ी कंसल्टेंसी सर्विस में तो if people get advance notice, they can prepare for the consultants. Otherwise मिलते नहीं ना staff. Suddenly आप UI issue करोगे 15 days time, and then RFP अगर another 30 days. So maximum within 1.5 to 2 months they have to prepare for consultants, experts available, which may not be possible. तो इसलिए GPM becomes very important.
जो थर्ड पॉइंट मैंने आपको बताया था, विदाउट द एस्टिमेटेड कॉस्ट, बिकॉज आप कास्ट ओपन कर दोगे, आपका एस्टिमेटेड कॉस्ट दैट इज योर कैपेसिटी टू पे, देन दे नो they have 10 lakhs of worth of rupees, so no bid will come below 10 lakhs.
ठीक है, every project needs to post a GPM at least once. इसको आप modify भी कर सकते हो, but normally it is not modified because आप actual तो दे नहीं रहे items. So normally it is issued at the start of the project. Then GPM should notify prospective bidders of what open place procurement opportunities are available. हम लोगों ने भी डिस्कस किया ना, they will keep you informed, आप फिर उनको बताएंगे. Then GPM should list all the open procurements without estimated cost. And GPM template should be accessible via the handbook. ये इसमें है, handbook में दे रखा है, तो उसी template से करना है. GPM और SPM में क्या फर्क है? GPM will contain all the open procurements. Should be done at least once for all projects, advertised in at least one newspaper and on IFAD and UNDP website, and it requires IFAD knowledge. We discussed all this. SPM, हम लोग यहाँ पे SPM word use नहीं करते शायद, but generally specific procurement notice जो request for bid या वो होता है उसके लिए SPM word is used, specific procurement notice. So this will be done mostly for advertised procurement, NCB, ICB, QCBS, etc. That means even RUI is also sort of SPM. Advertise in at least one newspaper and IFAD website and UNDP. ICB, QCBS है तो mandatory है. IFAD and UNDP. Okay, if it is ICB and QCBS, international purchasing जब भी करेंगे, it must be on UNDP. National करेंगे, it is not mandatory, but you can have it. Okay. What was really important? Any questions? If no questions, we will break for tea. Madam, sorry, it is your jurisdiction.
क्वेश्चंस और कोई फीडबैक किसी का है तो प्लीज. चाय में अभी टाइम है क्या? इट सीम्स
सर अब जैसे हमने GPM डाला है ना, अभी हमारी कुछ सर्विसेज और हायर हो, क्या अभी कर सकते हैं?
हाँ, इसीलिए इसमें वर्ड जो यूज किया as early as possible. If I am World Bank, I will not permit any SPM. IFAD, we are little liberal.
World Bank में without GPM, World Bank में without GPM, you cannot undertake any procurement activity.
Any SPM.
तो मेरा एक कहना है कि आपको GPM अगर मैं कोई ड्राफ्ट बनाऊं तो हम आके भी तो दिखाई तो देख सकते हैं.
बनाया था इनको किया एक साथ काफी ये पूरे प्रोजेक्ट पीरियड के लिए आपको
सर से ये वेल रेडी सर, और स्टेप्स बने हुए हैं आपके,
कास्ट टेबल तो
बने हुए हैं।
पूरा बना हुआ
अच्छा इसमें जैसे ओपन प्रोक्योरमेंट का क्या मतलब कॉम्पिटिटिव ना जो कोटेशन वाला क्या है नहीं मेरे को एडवर्टाइज वाला है
एडवर्टाइज वाला है,
एडवर्टाइज वाला
ही ज्यादातर एडवर्टाइज वाला ही आता है विदाउट एस्टिमेटेड कास्ट, क्योंकि आपका कास्ट टेबल स्प्रेड आउट है बिकॉज़ ईस्ट जब इज
अच्छा
देयर।
जैसे 2 बार होगा सीए का 2 बार होगा 3 साल का तो
आप एस्टिमेटेड कास्ट तो आप नहीं डालोगे ना, सो एक्सटर्नल ऑडिटर असाइनमेंट
GPN में आप एक प्रोक्योरमेंट नहीं डालते हैं आप,
कैटेगरी आइटम्स आप डाल दोगे, लेकिन
प्रोजेक्ट का ऑडिट करवाना है, कंसल्टेंसी सर्विस फॉर ऑडिट, कंसल्टेंसी सर्विस फॉर मैनेजमेंट फर्म, वो तो बहुत बड़ा हो गया, हायरिंग एजेंसी हो गई, कुछ और बड़ी कैटेगरी वाले खाली डाल, एक नहीं डाल लिया आपको, सिर्फ
see office equipments within bracket maybe you can say computer, laptop, printer, overall कितनी quantity
वो भी नहीं,
अगर वो भी डालना चाहते हो नहीं डाल रहे।
If you write only office equipment, it is okay. Only office equipment is fine. That will include all computers.
जैसे मैम अभी हमें वैल्यू चेन के लोग चाहिए, तो अगर हम जीपीएन में डाल देंगे उससे कुछ हमें आइडिया मिल जाएगा कि उत्तराखंड में कितने बाहर के कितने, इस तरीके से तो हम देख सकते हैं। वो पहले दे सकते हैं,
आप इश्यू कर रहे हो तो आप क्या देखोगे?
नहीं जैसे हमने जीपीएन डाला उनकी क्वेरी आई कि वी आर गिविंग द सर्विस एंड वी आर इंटरेस्टेड इन, हमारे पास यही है, तो देन वी हैव आइडिया, वो हमें आइडिया दीजिएगा हमें कौन कौन सी सर्विसेज
See, GPN एडवर्टाइज कराते then also you need to have a internal process, जो भी उनका लेटर आता है you need to record it somewhere category wise, ताकि you refer back भाई वो वाला procurement आ रहा था, ये already vendor registered vendor है और they express their interest, अगर bidding भी करोगे उनके लिए भी आप ईमेल भी अगर उन्होंने कांटेक्ट देंगे भाई we have advertised in Times of India dated 15th November for this services, please refer to it and if you are interested please submit your bid, that's all.
और उसमें
उससे-
GPN में
उससे हमारा TOR भी strong हो
ये भी लिख
हाँ।
दीजिए कि
TOR
हमारी
will
website,
take
इस
point.
वेबसाइट में we are addressing all our advertisements, तो वो they will also keep on seeing your website.
Before we break for tea, I just want to brief up the session जो सर ने भी किया। एक क्वेरी जो बीच में आई थी जब मैं यहाँ पे थी वो यही था कि सिंगल सोर्स और इमरजेंसी प्रोक्योरमेंट, जिसमें सर ने बहुत डिटेल में बताया कि व्हाट इज इमरजेंसी प्रोक्योरमेंट, तो उसमें बस मैं यही ऐड ऑन करना चाहूंगी आप सबके लिए कि हम लोग जो यहाँ पे जितने लोग आप लोग बैठे हैं, हम लोगों का काम ही मेनली प्लानिंग है। So if we don't foresee that what is it that we need, हमने last month आप लोगों को एक स्टार्टअप वर्कशॉप कराया जिसमें कि we told you about that, okay what is our project, हम क्या क्या फोर्सी करें, क्या प्रोजेक्ट में हम लोग की डिलीवरी है, क्या क्या करना है, हमें क्या क्या हमारे कंपोनेंट्स है प्रोजेक्ट के, तो वही चीज हमें फोर्सी करनी है कि हमारे क्या क्या रिक्वायरमेंट कल को निकलेंगी। So our emergency procurement as sir said cannot be lack of our planning. तो मेरा यही रिक्वेस्ट है कि कभी बहुत सारी चीजें हम जिलों में जब आप लोग वापस जाएंगे तो बहुत सारी चीजें वहां से निकल के आएंगी कि these are the things which you need, so you have to tell us at the state so that we cater to it in our procurement plan. तो बहुत सारी, क्योंकि see there is always the reason is that we have people in field is because that connect has to be there कि field की क्या requirement है जो communicate हो to the state और state उस हिसाब से चीजें को factor in करे। So things should not come at the end. मैंने बहुत बार ये हमने देखा है कि क्या होता है कि हम शुरू में तो जब किसी भी स्कीम की कोई गाइडलाइंस आती है तो वो हमारे ऑफिस में आती है, हम देखते नहीं है जब जिले में होते हैं, फिर जब उसकी इम्प्लीमेंटेशन के ऊपर जोर आता है तब हम देखते हैं कि अरे ये तो छूट गया, ये तो हमें चाहिए इसको इम्प्लीमेंट करने के लिए, दिस इज व्हाट वी नीड। सो आई वुड रिक्वेस्ट ऑल द डीएमएम्स एंड द डीपीएम्स एंड ऑल द अदर मेंबर्स कि आप लोग उस चीज को अभी ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग करो ताकि फील्ड में कोई रिक्वायरमेंट है वो अभी आ जाए सो दैट वी कैन फैक्टर इन। So it is not it's not an organization that if we don't plan, so we cannot then won't be able to do an emergency procurement every time. So जैसे कि सर ने बोला कि कोई प्रोजेक्ट अगर बार-बार सिंगल सोर्स कर रहा है, तो it means there is a problem in your planning. So that we need to see. वो important है। आप सिंगल सोर्स with a good justification is fine कि हमारे पास कोई और ऑप्शन नहीं है, this is the best suitable, we are justifying. But just because we could not foresee और जब हम इम्प्लीमेंटेशन पे आने लगे और हमें अपनी वो डेडलाइन पूरी करनी है, देन वी रियलाइज कि ये तो मिस हो गया, ये चीज हमें चाहिए और इसका प्रोक्योरमेंट करिए, देन दैट इज नॉट गुड। तो मेरा आप लोगों से ये रिक्वेस्ट है, क्योंकि अभी मैं क्यों बोल रही हूँ, सेक्रेटरी सर हम लोग डेली सीडीओस का मॉनिटरिंग कर रहे हैं, वी आर टेकिंग अ मीटिंग विद देम एवरी डे। नाउ सीडीओस हमें कुछ एड्रेस तभी करेंगे जब आप लोग भी उनको बताएंगे कि ये हमने इम्प्लीमेंट करने की कोशिश करी है, यहाँ पे हमें ये चीज की रिक्वायरमेंट है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर यूएसआरएलएम के थ्रू या उपासक के थ्रू, तो मेरा ये आप लोगों से रिक्वेस्ट है कि प्लीज उसको वहां पे मीटिंग करके एक छोटी मीटिंग ही करनी है। अभी जब तक ग्रासरूट फील्ड लेवल पे काम नहीं शुरू होता, तो एटलीस्ट वो प्लानिंग फील्ड लेवल पे करनी है, तो वो करके हम लोग को कम्युनिकेट करेगा टाइमली। दिस इज माय रिक्वेस्ट टू एवरीवन। Thank you,
See,
sir.
annual work plan and budget and procurement plan, the initial before the program year starts, हमारा fiscal year April से शुरू होती है, so timeline है 2 months before the program year, that is by January 31st, आपका AWPP and procurement plan इफेक्ट का objection के लिए भेजना। Initial no objection होने के बाद it is not ये वाला अगले साल ही अब दूसरा और it is not written वो वाला पूरा freeze हो गया करके नहीं है। You can revise your annual work plan and budget and you can also revise your procurement plan. So continuously you monitor क्योंकि जब कैलाश ने बताया था हमें पता ही नहीं था ये वाला दिसंबर जनवरी में आप इफेक्ट के लिए सबमिट करोगे, then you start in the process January first week में second week में. At that time there may not be any need or requirement for a particular activity. Maybe during your implementation from your ground level implementation there is a need or requirement for a particular activity, right? So you revise the annual work plan and budget. First see, because all your annual work plan and budget needs to go to your program management committee for approval. Because they require the budget ceiling, government budget preparation and inclusion in the state budget is only done twice. Maybe at the start of the budget session and maybe the RE stage में होता है। If it is, see that also you have to see. There is no overall budget requirement में कोई change नहीं है। Some activities you may like to drop for this year. Some activity you want to advance it to this year. So if it is overall आपका annual work plan and budget, say for example, just for example, 100 crores. Within that, if you do a modification and adjustment and submit to IFAC and Madhuswar. But if you want to go to 110 crores, then again you have to go to PMC. That process is going to take a longer time for you because the PMC doesn't meet at your convenience. Right? So within the component and within the overall budget, if there is any saving and if you want to divert to a new activity, include that, revise the annual work plan and budget. If it requires any procurement, if that inclusion of activity requires any procurement, amend the procurement or upgrade the procurement. Then submit it. It can be the annual work plan and budget and PP can be revised every 3 months or every 5 months. If you constantly review and upgrade and update your annual work plan and budget, it is good for the project. So you are constantly listening what is the requirement coming up from the ground, from the downwards, what are the requirements coming down, and you are also matching what is available to us in finance. So that will be a very dynamic annual work plan and budget and
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. चाहे जल्दी है, and we have speed break, ma'am. 15 minutes or 20 because we are running short of time. Like 15 minutes हमारा आधा. सर इसके बाद में आपका सेशन है सर. After this, sir. Sir आपका है new developments in IFAC procurement policy. उसके बाद है सर 3:45 आपका है और आज के लिए बस एक क्वेश्चन आंसर सेशन है. ब्रेक आप लोग प्लीज ले लीजिए, उसके बाद कंटिन्यू करेंगे श्रीराम सर के प्रेजेंटेशन के साथ. थैंक यू सो मच.
See, in the past 2 years, we have modified our general conditions and also the standard bidding document when we prepared the new standard bidding documents. we wanted to put these. One, what the member governments asked us to do, that is at the board level, you put emphasis on preventing fraud and corruption in the IFAD financed projects. And second, sexual harassment and exploitation and abuse. The third one is the data privacy. Data privacy we are not including in that, but these are the three new developments we have included into the bidding document, procurement guidelines, and in our GC. Not only the PMU should comply with it, whichever contractor or supplier or consultancy services provider engaged by the project should also comply with this. Preventing fraud and corruption and sexual harassment and exploitation and abuse. That's why in the new bidding document, you would see there is a self-certification form at the end of the contract. So the authorized signatory signs that we are aware of this, the preventing fraud and corruption, no fraudulent activity we will undertake, so they will sign on record and give it to you. The third preventing fraud is the independent investigating authority. Because the project, they can investigate, they can do a review of the complaints, but they cannot investigate because they don't have the project, they don't have the power. Independent, because then it will not be independent. So the government or the state government, in the case of India, the state government, they have to notify to IFAD who is the independent investigative agency to receive complaints for investigation and taking further action. Because IFAD as an agency, as a donor, we cannot investigate because that investigative power is not with IFAD. We can only ask the government, the country government or the borrower and the recipient to investigate these cases. So these are the new policies we have amended in our general conditions. So what are these and what are these features, we will see. Prevention and mitigation of fraud and corruption are core components of IFAD's mandate. So what are all these practices are together called as prohibitive practices. The first one is corrupt, second one is fraudulent, third is collusive, coercive and obstructive. This is in case of corruption. So what are these 5 prohibitive practices? Each of it signifies some different methodology or different plan of action. Corrupt practice, this is very simple one. Offering, giving, receiving or soliciting directly or indirectly of anything of value in order to improperly influence the actions of another party. So maybe supplier may be, okay, I'll give you 5% of the contract value, or I'll give you a motorbike, or I'll give you a travel 5-day all paid travel to the staff handling procurement, or something as significant and insignificant as, okay, some monetary one, 10,000 rupees, 50,000 rupees, something like that. It is considered corruption when a vendor or a contractor offers or gives anything of value, including internship or study trips. जो बड़े-बड़े consultancy company होते हैं, ठीक है हमें आप कॉन्ट्रैक्ट दे दो, आपका रिलेटिव का हम इसमें स्टडी टूर में भिजवा देंगे, यूरोप घुमा के लेके आएंगे, और नया यूएस भेज देंगे, और नया कोई इंटर्न अपॉर्चुनिटी दे देंगे. So that is corrupt practice. It is considered corruption when project staff or anyone with influence in the procurement process asks for or solicits or receives anything of value in connection with the procurement process. This is the other way. टेबल का इस साइड में है. जब तक आप नहीं दोगे हम अवार्ड नहीं देंगे, अगर नहीं आपका प्रपोजल हम रिजेक्ट कर देंगे. So this is corrupt practice. The second one is fraudulent practice. Any act or omission, including a misrepresentation, that knowingly or recklessly misleads or attempts to mislead a party in order to obtain a financial or other benefit or to avoid an obligation. जो हमने देखा है करप्ट प्रैक्टिस में दोनों इन्वॉल्व है, तो वेंडर भी है, प्रोजेक्ट स्टाफ भी है. फ्रॉडुलेंट में ओनली द वेंडर इज इन्वॉल्व, उनके पास एक्सपीरियंस ही नहीं है, so they will put a fake experience certificate, fake contract order, fake audit report to win the contract. So that is called a failure to disclose required information or omission can be enough for fraud. जो उन्होंने डिस्क्लोज करना है, अगर कोई वेंडर सबमिट कर रहा है, उनका कोई रेलेवेंट इंफॉर्मेशन है, कोई कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट है, उनको डिस्क्लोज करना है, हाँ मेरा नेव्यू इस प्रोजेक्ट में है, और द पोर्शन ऑफ इन्फ्लुएंस पे है, और एनी अदर इंफॉर्मेशन व्हिच इज एसेंशियल टू evaluate and recommend for award. What are the examples? Submitting forged documents with the bid. Bid security, कई बार bid security भी फेक होती है आजकल. क्या-क्या फेक होती है कोई आइडिया ही नहीं है. Manufacturer authorization. This is the most prevalent. In one of the India project, मैन्युफैक्चरर ऑथराइजेशन क्योंकि एग्रीकल्चरल टूल्स के लिए था, दो बिडर्स थे, एक ने सही मैन्युफैक्चरर ऑथराइजेशन टेस्ट रिपोर्ट कराया, दूसरा ने वो नीचे वाला सेम आईसीआर इंस्टीट्यूट का टेस्ट रिपोर्ट था, नीचे वाला पोजीशन सिग्नेचर वाला पोजीशन कट करा के और कोई फोर्ज्ड सिग्नेचर उसमें डाल के मैन्युफैक्चरर ऑथराइजेशन. It came to us and reviewed and in fact rejected the bid. Misrepresenting past experience or availability of key personnel. Bid में कहेंगे as a procurement specialist, if you are supposing you want a procurement specialist, right? They will send you the CV of Virender Garg, Dr. Virender Garg. He has 30 years of experience working in government, international, all other forum. So you will be impressed, right? But Dr. Garg doesn't know that he has given the CV. Just to win the contract, he misrepresented, fraudulently misrepresented, and they say now Dr. Garg is with the fat, so he cannot come. So I can give you Sriram. That is fraudulent. Failing to disclose required information about agents used in the procurement process. If they have used certain agents, that's why if you look at the standard bidding document, when they submit a bid, they have to say, these are the, we have given commission gratuities to this person to prepare the bid or anything of that nature. If they don't disclose and later the project finds out, then it becomes a fraudulent practice. False information on technical or financial capability. They will say, हाँ ये solar, ये water pump तो हर घंटे के लिए तो आपका 3000 लीटर पंप करेगा, लेकिन एक्चुअली करेगा 300 लीटर. फोटोकॉपियर नहीं पर मिनट के लिए आपका तो 50 कॉपी निकलेगा, इसमें 5 कॉपी भी नहीं निकलेगी. सो टेक्निकल स्पेसिफिकेशन में मॉडिफाई करना है, उसका एनहांस करके बताना है, what is not true. All these comes under the fraudulent practice. Collusive. Collusive is the word indicates two joining together. So the 2 or 3 bidders join together. Okay, there are 4 lots. Okay, lot 1, me, Yadavji and Lalit will bid. I'll quote the lowest, Yadavji will quote the other highest, Lalit सबसे highest. So I'll be the winner. In the lot 2, I'll be the highest. So predetermined, ये वाला निर्णय, ये this is more prevalent in works contract. More prevalent in works contract. The cartel or bid rigging इसको कहते हैं इसको. This you can find out. You can say outside the office, project office, person you are say office है या कोई होटल में बैठ के उन्होंने decide कर लिया. How do we know? You can find out. By looking carefully, looking at the bids, you can find out. Because there is a, when you evaluate the bid, there is a pattern. जितने भी वो वाला fraud करे, कोई pattern तो निकलेगा जरूर. कुछ तो छोड़ेंगे. False quotation में भी मोबाइल नंबर गलत होगी, दूसरा मोबाइल नंबर होगा. So there are ways to. So that's why the procurement is a very. It is easy if you follow, if you understand the processes, if you understand the principles. क्या हो सकता है? So you need to be very careful in this.
So sir, each and every content of the quotation should be checked minutely.
Yes, that's why that's why we want a separate procurement unit for the project. Because if you ask Kailash to do the procurement, he may be good in value chain or marketing or something. Or the other person, the Yemeni person, he may be master in his or her own domain. He or she is not expected to know everything. That's why we want a procurement unit to take care, so that they can go deeper into the principles, practice, what are the bid rigging policies, जो externally aided projects में क्या हो रहा है, government projects में क्या हो रहा है. So they can acquire knowledge and put that knowledge into practice to prevent all these fraudulent practices. जो उन्होंने बिड सबमिट किया, सबने आपने करके टिक मार करके ओके कर दिया, फिर प्रोक्योरमेंट यूनिट और प्रोक्योरमेंट स्पेशलाइजेशन के क्या जरूरत है?
सर लेकिन कैन आई आस्क?
Yeah, sure.
सर आपने बताया कि वो पैटर्न पता चल जाता है, पैटर्न ना उनका जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो गया कहीं बैठ करके. ये अनफॉर्चुनेटली मेरे ख्याल से बाकी सब लोग भी मानेंगे कि बहुत सारे केसेस में ऐसा होता होगा जनरली. तो जो उसको आपने पैटर्न भी देख लिया, सब कुछ देख लिया, तो क्या उसको आप रिजेक्ट कर सकते हैं उस बेसिस पर?
Absolutely rejected.
जैसे उनकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग तो कहीं क्लोज डोर में हुई है,
आपका
you are not
वो
aware of that.
आपका वो तो that's what I said, no, you can identify the pattern, then you can come to a conclusion. That's your judgmental call. Reject the bid or this one.
You have done this thing, na?
If you even after knowing this, if you proceed and IFAD reviews it and comes to the conclusion it is a fraudulent, IFAD will declare it as a false procurement and IFAD financing will not be available for that procurement.
तो कई बार ऐसे भी होता है कि जैसे आपको नॉलेज नहीं है, तीनों बैठ गए, उसने कहा ठीक है यार तुम ये ले लो, तुम ये ले लो, हम काम कर ही रहे हैं, फिर ये करो।
उसमें कहीं ना कहीं आपको पैटर्न मिलेगा कराएगी, कहीं ना कहीं मिल जाएगा। मैं आपको अभी करंट एग्जांपल मैं नहीं दे सकता हूँ, करंट एग्जांपल मैं नहीं दे सकता हूँ, लेकिन है पोजीशन है।
हमारा उतनी प्रोजेक्ट में भी हुआ है, हम लोगों ने डिस्कस किया है, तीनों आदमी बैठ के जो रेट का जो वैल्यू पड़ता है ना सर, तीनों का पैटर्न, एक का पैटर्न इसमें एक प्रकार है, दूसरे का वही फिगर दूसरे में चेंज हुआ है, पता चल जाएगा सर।
अगर आप इंप्रूव अगर
प्रोजेक्ट ये तो पता चल जाएगा। कई बार ऐसा होता है कि तीन लोग इसलिए भी मिल जाते हैं कि चलो यार इसको विन करना है, कोई और है नहीं, इन्होंने ये कहा कि चलो तुम ये ले लो, मैं ये ले लेता हूँ, मैं ये ले लेता हूँ, मतलब फॉर द सेक ऑफ क्या होते हैं, उन्होंने ये कहा कि चलो यार तुम्हें भी काम मिल जाएगा, तुम्हें भी मिल जाएगा, साथ बैठ के बना दिया, पैटर्न हमें पता
चलेगा। मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ, एक प्रोजेक्ट में अभी रिसेंटली कंक्लूड हुआ है, उस प्रोजेक्ट में दूसरा सेम एग्रीकल्चरल इक्विपमेंट्स था, 3 बिल्डर थे, तीनों बिल्डर एक कंपनी में डायरेक्टर है, दूसरे कंपनी में पार्टनर है, सो तीनों अलग अलग उनका इंटर रिलेटेड यूनिट्स। ये आपको बिड से देखने से पता नहीं चलेगा, उनका एलिजिबिलिटी डॉक्यूमेंट में जाना है, पूरा कौन उसका ओनरशिप देखने से आपको पता चलेगा।
हैंडराइटिंग में प्रिंटर
हैंडराइटिंग नहीं,
प्रिंटर बहुत सके होते हैं,
जो पार्टनरशिप डील में होता है ना, वो कौन है, वो पार्टनर कौन है, वो इसमें डायरेक्टर है। 2 बिड है, एचडीएफसी बैंक, दोनों एचडीएफसी बैंक में जाके बिड सिक्योरिटी लिए है, आगे पीछे का बिड सिक्योरिटी है, एक ही अकाउंट में जा रही है बिड सिक्योरिटी।
शेयर नंबर आगे पीछे का बहुत कम कॉन्फिडेंस,
उसका वास्तव में होने के लिए कितना चांसेस है, नॉट इवन 1 in 10,000 हो सकता है, छोटे ब्रांच में हो सकता है, आगे पीछे के लिए हो सकता है, but not from the same account. So you have to be थोड़ा आंख खोल के, that's why the procurement specialists are always finance fiduciary aspects में finance managers and the procurement managers, they are always suspicious. Always suspicious, because they know हाँ ये हो सकता है, because they have seen the examples, they have seen the case studies, they have seen actual cases happening. This experience and exposure may not be available to the other persons who are handling procurement, just for a part-time procurement function करेंगे, उनके लिए ये knowledge नहीं। So that's why procurement होता है तो वो जैसे आप यमनी का डोमेन कह रहे हैं, उनका डोमेन एक्सपोर्ट पे छोड़ दो कि कितने इंडिकेटर है ये बता।
अगर बेसिकली 10-12 बिड आता है, 20 बिड तो 15 बिड आती है, अब 15 में से 3 लगी है कॉलेज, 3 कॉलेज ही लग रही है, 12 ठीक है, 3 कॉलेज ही लग रही है, तो उन 3 को रिजेक्ट करना पड़ेगा, पूरा प्रोसेस को तो भी
नहीं, 3 को रिजेक्ट करना पड़ेगा, 12 का ठीक है, ओके, but if a recommendation of award is one of that collusive bidder, then the entire procurement process have to be
रिकमेंडेशन और कैसे चला जाए, कभी रिजेक्ट कर देंगे,
पता है, कई बार वो बिना देखे वो चले जाती है, अवार्ड
रिव्यू करके 3 को पाया है कि ठीक नहीं,
मैं कह रहा हूँ आपने 15 बिड का आप कह रहे हैं 3 कोलूसिव है, ठीक है? ये कोलूसिव हमेशा हाईली कॉम्पिटिटिव फील्ड में कोलूसिव नहीं आती।
नहीं आती, वही मैं कह रहा हूँ, दैट नॉट पॉसिबल।
10 लोग कोलूड नहीं होना असंभव है। जब यहाँ आपको एग्जैक्टली 3 बिड आते हैं तब वहाँ कोलूसिव के चांसेस हैं। जहाँ आपका कंपटीशन कम हो रहा है वहाँ कोलूशन क्या है? ओपन इसमें 10 बिड आ रहे हैं तो क्योंकि एक बिडर 10 से मैनेज करना पड़ेगा, उनके लिए तो पॉसिबल नहीं है। 3 होता है तो आपस में बता देंगे हाँ ये वाला ये तुम करो, ये वाला करो। 10 से वो वाला नहीं हो सकता। If there is a 15 bid and if you find 3 are collusive, you reject 3, the collusive one, and proceed with the 12. But if you awarded the contract and signed the contract for the collusive bidder, then it goes for a misprocurement. Coercive. This is also happening in works, mostly works in small places. जो लेवल 1 क्लास ए कॉन्ट्रैक्टर होंगे, जो आज का बेड का लास्ट डेट है, वो वहीं आके अपना गाड़ी खड़ी कर देंगे। भाई जाना है तो मेरे आगे जाके जाओगे ना, जाने नहीं देंगे। So that is coercive. अगर नहीं है भाई मेरा बेड आप पास नहीं करोगे, आपका काम तोड़ दूंगा और आपका व्हीकल का कुछ करा दूंगा। सो देयर इज आपका कोयर्स करके कोई फेवरेबल डिसीजन लेने के लिए, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज अ कोयर्सिव प्रैक्टिस। और a supervisor threatens a procurement staff to make them an award to a certain bidder. सुपरवाइजर कह रहा है इन्हीं को ही अवार्ड देना है, अगर नहीं तो आपका कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्शन नहीं होगा। और यहाँ आपका एनुअल परफॉर्मेंस रिव्यू में आपका नहीं होगा। सो दैट इज आल्सो coercive practice. Obstructive, जो इफाड का इन्वेस्टिगेशन शुरू, then you destroy the documents and evidences which hampers the investigation. That is called obstructive practice. इफाड ऑडिटर भेजेंगे, इफाड इन्वेस्टिगेशन यही हुए, ऑफिस ऑफ ऑडिट इन्वेस्टिगेशन ऑडिट अपने ऑडिटर्स को भेजेंगे, इन्वेस्टिगेटर को भेजेंगे, डॉक्यूमेंटिंग उनका दिखाना नहीं है, दे विल नॉट कोऑपरेट, नहीं जी हमारे पास ऐसे कोई डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं है। ये सब कुछ मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर को पता है, मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर यूरोप टूर में है, 4 महीने के बाद आएंगे। So this is obstruction, जो इन्वेस्टिगेशन में प्रॉपर उसका नतीजे पे पहुंचने के you put a block, that is called obstructive practice. So all these practices are collectively called as prohibitive practices. So in each of your bidding document, you list out these practices, and when the bidder, I am talking about it is not for quotation. Quotation is for small value. It is for the advertised quotation, advertised bid हो, request for proposal हो, उसके लिए then when they submit the proposal, the submission letter may be the standard. If you look at the standard bidding document of the project format of DOB, there itself they say we are aware of these practices and we confirm we will comply to these provisions. So, like under oath, they are saying we comply. Later on, if you come to know that they didn't follow, you have a very valid ground to terminate the contract. No court will give a stay for this. So what is misprocurement? Carrying out a procurement process that is laced with fraudulent, corrupt, collusive, coercive or obstructive. Just mark the word laced. अगर 5% भी चांस है मिसप्रोक्योरमेंट, पूरा मिसप्रोक्योरमेंट भी नहीं है, पूरा collusive practice भी नहीं है. There are traces. जैसे हम लैब रिपोर्ट करते हैं, traces of this, traces of that कहते हैं. अगर कॉफी में ये है तो laced with choco powder, sprinkle करते हैं ना, उसमें अगर सूप के ऊपर कुछ वो वाला पाउडर डालते हैं, कॉफी के ऊपर choco powder डालते हैं. That's why the word you mark the word laced. अगर जरा सा है इंसिडेंस है, बाद में आप कहेंगे नहीं सर 2% ही था, आपने 98% का कैंसिल करा दिया, ये नहीं हो सकता. That is not materially consistent with the IFAD procurement guidelines. IFAD procurement guidelines के हिसाब से किया ही नहीं. So that is misprocurement. Not materially consistent with the IFAD procurement handbook. Not materially consistent with the applicable legal and regulatory framework and for which the waiver has not been undertaken from IFAD. अगर कोई legal framework है, suppose there is no domestic preference. National list में कोई domestic preference IFAD normally they don't give. There is no domestic preference. But in some project cases, works के लिए domestic preference 2.5% ऐसी कुछ वो वाला preference देते हैं. If that has not been agreed, then you go ahead without seeking IFAD, no objection. Then that is a cause for misprocurement. So what the borrowers and the grant recipients are supposed to do? Inform potential bidders and contractors of anti-corruption policy and IFAD's confidential anti-corruption mailbox. So this provision is already incorporated into the bidding document and your bid contract documents. Include self-certification. We said this. Promptly inform IFAD of any allegations of prohibited practices and fully cooperate with any IFAD investigations. अगर आपका कोई complaint है, नहीं जी फलाना डिस्ट्रिक्ट में ये वाला corruption का corrupt practice और prohibited practice का हमारे पास complaint आया था, so inform IFAD promptly and support IFAD in the investigative process, support IFAD and also the independent investigative agency identified by the state government to fully investigate the issue. Some, it may be a fully bogus. You know, everybody, those who are working in government, you know, if a person is due for promotion and the others they don't like him or her, some complaints will start coming. There may be frivolous complaints, but the project is not supposed to dismiss anything. Investigate and get the facts of the case. If the facts are right, proceed further. If the facts are not right, inform years after completion. So, up to 10 years, IFAD or IFAD appointed auditors can come and investigate those documents. That's why during completion, say suppose the REAP is not there, you didn't get a REAP project, ILSP के साथ खत्म हो गए, right? At the completion report, you have to indicate all these financial records have been handed over to this department, this office, and these are all available there. So, project completion report is an official document. So, later on, if there is any allegations or complaint, we can write to that particular department to give access to those records. Since you have the continuing project, sequel project, you know you have all the records with you. Identify independent, this also we discussed. It is encouraged to have in place confidential reporting channels and whistleblower protection measures in relation to the prohibitive practices in IFAD projects. That's why even in your financing agreement, we said compliance redressal mechanism to establish a compliant redressal mechanism. So anybody from the project beneficiary or a supplier, they can submit your complaint, submit a complaint or allegations of complaint discreetly. So that person whom it has been identified, that person will be outside the procurement process or financial management process. Like जो government departments में होता है, he is the complaint receiving authority, appellate authority, उनका next level पे आते हैं appellate authority. So in the project also, you identify a person or an office to receive complaints in confidence to resolve. If this mechanism is established, it will have a far-reaching effect on the project's transparency. Refrain from bidders and contractors, refrain from engaging in prohibitive practices, participate in due diligence checks. That's why in the RFP document, there is a column, those who you have done recently the RFP, so you know they have to list out the pending legal litigation history for the past 5 years. So you know what are the cases pending against that particular bidder. And you also ask for a self-certification document that they were not blacklisted. Because in the Indian government system, there is no common list for blacklisting or debarring. अगर आरडी डीबार करता है, एग्रीकल्चर डिपार्टमेंट को पता भी नहीं है. पब्लिक वर्क्स डिपार्टमेंट डीबार किया था, आरडी को भी पता नहीं होगा, unless you ask them whether you have a blacklisting list. So that's why you ask them, you put the onus on the other. Dr. Garg has said, no, if you identify the risk, there are different ways of handling the risk. How will you mitigate the risk? Then you transfer. There is also one there that transfer the risk. So by asking the self-certification that I am not blacklisted by any government department or external agencies, you ask for an affidavit there. So you transfer the risk of your risk to the bidder and the contractor. They will give you an affidavit. No, I have not been debarred. So you can proceed on that aspect. Promptly report to IFAD any allegations of prohibited practices. This you must do. Any complaint, it has to be reported to IFAD. Fully cooperate. What is IFAD responsibility? IFAD responsibility is to ensure that the anti-corruption policy is communicated to all parties involved in IFAD projects and to support their adherence to it. To maintain the anti-corruption hotline as a confidential channel for the receipt of complaints of prohibitive practices. In IFAD, towards the end of the slide, we will have the anti-corruption hotline number, email, and postal address. This is a separate office for IFAD, Independent Office of Investigation, AUO. Even the complaints or whistleblower complaints received in those offices is kept in high confidential level. Even IFAD president cannot ask from whom the complaint has come. They are not supposed to even to disclose to IFAD president. IFAD president is our head of organization. They will not disclose. They will report only to IFAD board without the name. So confidentiality is ensured at the IFAD level. IFAD staff obligation to report wrongdoing. If I receive any complaint in my email or my WhatsApp or my post addressed to me, it is my duty to report that to AUO without doing any investigation. I am not supposed to investigate that complaint. But what I am supposed to do is, what I must do is to send a complaint. Yes, I have received this complaint. Please advise or please take action. If I don't do that, then I am liable for dismissal from service. IFAD takes it very seriously, anti-corruption. Very seriously. IFAD investigation processes. IFAD carries out investigations of prohibited practices with strict regard for confidentiality and due process in accordance with IFAD internal guidelines. IFAD maintains impartiality, objectivity, and fairness throughout the investigative process without interference or influence from any party or authority. That's what I said. Even IFAD president cannot influence this. The investigators, the office staff, they are qualified legal counsels. Those who have worked in country, police systems, investigative authority, they are the staff. IFAD takes appropriate measures to protect whistleblowers and those taking part in or supporting IFAD investigation, such as by providing anonymity to a complainant if required. This is the hotline number.
Complaint should be in writing.
Yes, IFAD requires in writing. Because the verbal, there is no guarantee, no. It says some person A working in project X, they will say, sir ये वाला यहाँ तो बहुत ही corruption हो रहा है, यहाँ तो लाखों में नोट छाप रहे हैं। मैं उनका कंप्लेंट लेके मैंने तो फॉरवर्ड कर दिया। बाद में कहेगा नहीं सर, मैंने तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं बोला है। मैंने तो श्रीराम का हिंदी नहीं आती है, श्रीराम का मातृभाषा हिंदी नहीं है, वो गलत समझ गया होंगे।
written complaint should be there.
That depends on the complaint. If they have access to the documents or if they have access to evidence, can support. In some project they have done the video attachment also.
अगर बिना नाम वाली कोई कंप्लेंट
कंप्लेंट विदाउट एनी एविडेंस
विदाउट नेम उसको भी कंसीडर करें.
Anonymous भी हम consider करेंगे.
अच्छा उसको भी कंसीडर.
Because the government has CVC guidelines says anonymous complaint should be disregarded. Disregarded. CVC guidelines says. But if it says, even if it is anonymous, we will correlate, we will triangulate, and then we will take a call. We will triangulate with the other available. We will take a call. So no complaint is disregarded. Every complaint is reviewed and investigated. But these complaints are for corrupt, prohibitive practices. मेरा सुपरवाइजर ने मुझे छुट्टी नहीं दे रहा है, मुझे ऑफिस आवर्स के बाद मुझे बिठा के रखे, मुझे ओवर टाइम पे नहीं दे रहे, that is not coming under the prohibitive practices. So that the nature of complaint will also be this. That is important if it has another perspective that we will see in the next part. But it will not come as a anti-corruption.
that will other.
Okay. So everybody has noted down the numbers, email. This is also available on the IFAD website. So as a new policy, so preventing fraud and corruption, everybody is clear? Any questions on that? Okay.
व्हाट्सएप कंप्लेंट मानी जाएगी सर?
हाँ?
व्हाट्सएप कंप्लेंट
व्हाट्सएप किसको भेजोगे? वो व्हाट्सएप नंबर है कि नहीं पता नहीं है ना?
मैसेज चल जाएंगे इसमें
ईमेल एंड फैक्स.
व्हाट्सएप नंबर में आपका नंबर आ जाएगा,
तो क्या आपको
वो आइडेंटिफाई हो जाएगा ना. वो आप देखो कंप्लेनेंट का आप साइकी समझो. Initially, when somebody wants to make a complaint, they would like to remain anonymous unless they get the confidence. ये जो इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग अथॉरिटी है, ये जो मेरा कंप्लेंट का मेरा नाम लेके किसी को नहीं बताएगा, तभी तो वो आगे आपका एविडेंस देगा. आप व्हाट्सएप में देखोगे तो आपका नंबर आ जाएगा, एक नंबर ये वाला सेल कॉल रिकॉर्ड में आप डाल के दे, ट्रू कॉलर में डाल के दे देंगे तो आपका पूरा नाम, आपका पूरा हॉरोस्कोप आ जाएगा उसमें. So this is IFAD policy on sexual harassment and sexual exploitation and abuse. Okay, there are two issues, two factors. One is sexual harassment and another one is sexual exploitation and abuse. Sexual harassment is within the office setup, either within the PMU or a DPMU or a consultant, technical assistance partners, there within the office. Sexual exploitation and abuse is abusing your beneficiary. So that is the difference. जो जहां कुछ फ्रजाइल स्टेट्स में है और वेरी पुअर कंट्रीज में है, जब if you don't give this favor, we will not give you project benefits to you. So that is sexual exploitation. In April 2018, IFAD released its policy on preventing and responding to sexual. So, whenever we say SH and SEA, we say in acronym we say SH/EA. So, sexual harassment and sexual exploitation and abuse. In response to the United Nations Secretary General strategy for a system-wide approach to strengthening prevention and the response measures to combat sexual harassment and sexual exploitation and abuse in its operations and funded activities. The policy, like preventing fraud and corruption, is also available on the IFAD website and clearly indicates, communicates IFAD's no tolerance. It is zero tolerance. No other action. Even if it is a corruption also, you need a alibi or something. Here, it is preponderance of the facts. Even circumstantial evidence will also be there. In corruption, you don't have a circumstantial evidence. Here, even circumstantial evidence can also be considered. IFAD rules, expectations and procedures in preventing and responding to these acts. The policy applies to staff, recipients of IFAD funding and the third parties contracted using IFAD's funding. So that's why there is a certification also. What is sexual harassment? This is within the office setup. Any unwelcome sexual advance, request for a sexual favor, or other verbal, non-verbal, or physical conduct of a sexual nature that unreasonably interferes with the work, alters, or is made a condition of employment, or creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive work environment. See the definition, it covers everything. Recently, in some other project, the service provider, they said, we don't want to sign. They said, we have national guidelines, right? National law, Vishaka and this one, case law. So we have to abide by that. We will not comply to IFAD. We said, if you sign, you get the contract. If you don't sign, thank you, tata, bye bye. Because Indian Act talks about sexual harassment. It doesn't talk about sexual exploitation and abuse. If you go to Vishaka, there is just the definition I differentiated between these two different ones. Sexual exploitation and abuse can only be proceeded against using your Indian Penal Code sections. There are no separate section, separate act like Vishaka. So, we said we have our highest office, Secretary Section's office. The UN have declared it. So, if you comply to this policy and procedures, sign the contract. If you don't want to sign, no contract. So, anybody consultant say we have to abide by the national process, please tell them sexual harassment is handled. There is a separate act. But sexual abuse, exploitation is by the different IPC sections. There is no single policy, single act to do that. Why? Because this is for the project beneficiary, either the project staff or your contractors or your suppliers. If they exploit your beneficiary, if they exploit or abuse your beneficiary, that is the project beneficiary, there is currently no act per se. There are different sections in the IPC. So that's why these two are handled together.
But what is the hard action in such cases?
Because
दीवार
permanent debar.
criminal
Then once we debar, then we will tell the country government to proceed.
country government. And the country will take the
Then see, now we have a cross department. Now we have a cross department. Once IFAD debars, World Bank also debars. World Bank also take action. ADB also debars.
and criminal action will be taken by the national
Country government. Country government. We will tell the country government, like in case of India, we will tell government of India, the state government, proceed against this as the one. And this is serious enough because this is the results of this investigation. The committee's ethics committee presentation, it is presented to our board by specifying the country, not the entire case, specifying the country. So, India is also on the board. If there is a complaint against department against India, Government of India will not remain silent. रेशन पानी लेके छड़ जाएंगे. This is, as I said, sexual exploitation and abuse towards beneficiaries in the context of IFAD's operation. This has happened. In Haiti, this happened. Those who want to Google it, I don't want to specify the name of the institution. Right? You Google it, Haiti, this happened. Big institution. Big institution. Is defined as any actual or attempted abuse of a position of vulnerability, differential power, or trust for sexual purposes, including but not limited to profiting monetarily, socially, or politically from the sexual exploitation of others, the actual or threatened physical intrusion of a sexual nature, whether by force or under unequal or coercive conditions. This is gender neutral. Don't think this happens only to women. In many countries, this happens to male also. Ensure the project is carried out. So that's why all the certification. The details of the policy. So we will come to the suspension for fund. The fund, after consultation with the borrower recipient, has determined that acts of sexual harassment and sexual exploitation and abuse were engaged in by representatives of the borrower recipient or a project party or by any other recipients of the proceeds of the financing without the borrower recipient having taken timely and appropriate action satisfactory to the fund to address such acts when they occur. The IFAD will suspend the project. Entire project will get suspended.
they don't take any action.
Corrective action to the satisfaction of IFAD. Procurement guidelines have been aligned with these policies. Where to report an allegation. That is Office of Audit and Investigation, AU. This is Ethics Office. This is Ethics Office. If you go to IFAD site,
AU stand for AU.
AU Office of Investigative Audit. If you go to IFAD site, there is also a small training for ethics. So what are the instances, how you can prevent, it's a short training module available. You can also access this from the IFAD website. So that brings closure to the today's procurement session. Now what is the time? 5:16. So we have exceeded by, even though we started by 45 minutes later, we covered about 30 minutes of ground. And see, we can have another 15 minutes or 14 minutes to be precise. If you have any question answer session, we can have it in 10-15 minutes. If you have, otherwise, have a nice evening and we will meet you tomorrow at 10. For a good night reading, take the procurement handbook and read through. You'll get a sound sleep.
क्वेश्चन आंसर सेशन के लिए
Question answer session.
I was inviting.
So they want a demo.
Link, sir, link.
इसका वेबसाइट का www.ifat.org
वो नहीं, मैम ने बोला है ना प्रोक्योरमेंट हैंडबुक वहाँ ईपैड वेबसाइट में है, so if you want to यार विजिल ब्लोअर का वो उसको इमीडिएटली ये वाला करंट सेशन के साथ लिंक मत करो
As per the schedule, ma'am, it's a question answer session now. तो अगर questions हैं या please सभी का स्वागत है.
मुझे पता था
one of our district, I'm not saying. Sir, आवाज आ रही है?
Hello. Yes, sir. Sir, in a current scenario, suppose we have issue a RFQ, request for quotation, and just we invite the 3 parties as a minimum quorum. So suppose the 2 of the parties are submit their all the documents, and third one is not able to submit this. So it is a process ki we have cancel the whole procurement process, or can we evaluate only 2?
request for quotation, you need to at the time of evaluation you need to have 3.
Yeah, exactly. So we can
At the time of evaluation you need to have 3.
Okay.
Less than 3 you need to restart the quotation.
Thanks a lot,
That's
sir.
why for quotation
Don't restrict to 3. Send as many as possible. 5, 6, those who qualify. Or those who know they can supply the goods to you. If they chose to submit, it is their fault.
And then so many times
No, then you need to analyze. Say, what is the problem? Why these only 2 you are getting? Your specifications is bad or your qualification documents is bad.
Sir, some of the time we have certain criteria to issue this on an objective basis because we are working in a remote location. So we are a limited resource that the some of the 2% only are eligible for that certain criteria, and they are providing some quotations also. We are bound on a particular remote location, so we can understand it and can we proceed it.
I understand.
Which Madaja?
Limitation of suppliers, right? In a particular district, you may not.
Okay, बोले तो बड़ो.
But that doesn't prevent you from sending the quotation to from the another district to supply to you. Nearby district to supply to you. Or if you are getting consistently only 2, then there is a bid review.
You can say that you can extend your remote location, but practically we are saying that the some of the person are coming to a go far, at least 45 kilometers. So rates maybe is worried about high.
Why you worry? Why you worry about that? Your job is to send the quotation to receive the quotation. You are not worried about the value or the price. I know. You need to ensure, send the quotation, solicit the quotation. At the time of evaluation, you need to have 3. If you are consistently there, then look at your qualification criteria. Whether you can relax the qualification. और procurement का evaluation template, documentation template भी मिलेगा.
सर कल एक डेमो अगर हो सकता है AWP से कैसे हम निकाल कर डालेंगे प्रोक्योरमेंट में, एक डेमो अगर हो सकता है प्रैक्टिकल सैंपल तो ज्यादा अच्छा रहेगा.
AWP से
हम बोल रहे हैं ना AWP के साथ साथ लिंक है, प्रोक्योरमेंट प्लान भी लिंक है, तो उसको जो फॉर्मेट्स है, गुड्स का एक, वर्क का एक एग्जांपल जस्ट छोटा सा
मतलब इनकॉर्पोरेट करने के लिए AWP भी
कैसे हम एक्सट्रैक्ट करेंगे?
See, 3 days we are
Just a
tightly
sample.
managing. No, I understand your query. I understand your point. You need to have a more hands-on experience. We are willing to do that, right? But the only condition is tomorrow. Then we will extend the time by 30 minutes more. If you agree, then we can have the exercise. And we will restrict only to 1 or 2 from the AWPP. How
Yes,
you
yes.
want to put it there into the done.
सर उसके अंदर टोटल प्लान का टेम्पलेट भी दे दीजिएगा जो वो देंगे हम लोग इसी वर्कशॉप
डॉक्टर गगन सर, क्या आप कुछ
I think there are no further questions. I think we can close the.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर. थैंक यू सो मच. मैम would like to make a concluding remarks.
No concluding remarks as such. I just want to thank Sriram sir and Garg sir for being here and giving all our participants a very engaging orientation regarding the procurement. And again, I would urge to all the participants that whatever queries Odisha guys have raised that they want to have a demo. Again, I will just urge that please, whatever queries we have, we should route those queries to the officials from IFET so that we have more and more clarity, because procurement is a very critical and a sensitive subject. So we cannot just go on our own thinking and thought process. We have to be involved and we have to abide by the book. So all of us should be on the same page, and we'll request everyone that if you all can go through the documents and the bidding documents and also the procurement handbook, so that way I think really nice. We can put up more questions to sir tomorrow and day after as well. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you so much.